with talent, craft, and dreams and making plans. But decisions came like twisters, scattered hopes across the floor. Now players shake their heads, wondering what they're gaming for. Oh, Warner Brothers, what you doing to your name? Patent nemesis, it's greed behind your fame. Canceled Wonder Woman, left us waiting in the dust. Suicide Squad sinking fast, lost the gaming world's trust. That nemesis system had folks cheering far and wide, but you locked it down and creativity just died. Instead of leading progress, you're blocking up the lane, holding back the industry, causing nothing but disdain. Oh, Warner Brothers, can't you see the gaming light? Misreading your audience, getting nothing right, letting great teams crumble, opportunities ignored, gamers asking why they're even bothered anymore. Wonder Woman could have soared, made history anew, but you tossed her out like yesterday's news. Suicide Squad came in hot, crashed and burned right through. Misunderstood your market, now the joke's on you. Oh, Warner Brothers, lost in stubborn pride. Gaming world's changing, but you're stuck inside. Missed every chance you had, ignored the warning signs. Better wake up soon before you fall too far behind. So here's a message, Warner, from gamers coast to coast. Respect your teams and visions, or you'll end up as a ghost. Stop wasting all potential, learn to play the game, or Warner Brothers games will just remain a crying shame.
Time to play the game.
Shout out to the chess club.
Imagine a hero shooter where the hero never showed.
I'm vibing!
Imagine a game with a player base that just refused to grow.
16 times the detail.
A 5v5 hero shooter with gameplay that's just okay.
We're aiming for a controversial 7 out of 10.
And characters that remind me of Tupperware and white bread.
But something's wrong with the game.
No, I'm not talking about Overwatch. Please stop bringing up Overwatch. This game is not Overwatch. It's actually something else.
That's most definitely what's up.
Imagine a game with a story that no one watches.
Death to all of them.
A game that costs $40 that Sony totally botches.
Catch me outside, how about that?
It has all my favorite characters, like Lemmy, Dawn, and Craig.
I'm
At least,
vibing!
I think that's what their names are. I never bothered to check. Concord like the grave, your legacy is safe. As a game that no one played, and a price that no one paid. Boop-a-doop-ba, deep-a-doop-da, scoop-a-boop-ba, beep-beep-beep-beep-beep, phlegm. Concord was about as good as accidentally peeing on your own leg. Concord, we're here to lay you to rest. We know you tried your best. You copied so much cool stuff just to turn out lame in the end. I'll never forget my favorite moments, like when Hot Sauce Guy jumped. Remember when he jumped? That was really cool. A rat just ran by on my desk, and even the rat didn't want to play Concord, even though I blessed him with the chance. The $40 he could afford, but the rat just stared on in a trance. Rat, 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 rat. Concord's dead. Rat, 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 rat. Concord's dead. The Costco guys made more money than you. They were just on Jimmy Fallon too. Imagine Lennox being on Jimmy Fallon, because I literally can't. The rat on my desk is eating all my Cheerios and grapes. And also Concord is dead. Concord like the grave. Your legacy is safe as a game that no one played, and a price that no one paid. Rat-a-tat-a-beep-a-dap. Skim, milk, the rat freak, doo-da, doo-da. A guy said he really liked it, and then a bunch of rats ate his face. That's the sound he made when Concord passed away. I wish things turned out different, but either way I'm getting paid. Concord's dead, Concord's dead. And boy is my face red. When the game came out, everybody overslept. Concord's dead, Concord's dead. Holy crap, Lois, Concord's dead. When the game out, people played everything else instead.
Welcome, welcome everybody. Glad to have you. Glad to have you. We're here. We're rocking and rolling. Living the life, and it's thanks to you. It's thanks to all of you. How we doing? Feeling good? Feeling alive on this beautiful, beautiful Wednesday. I was hoping we'd have more to talk about with like Death Stranding, but you know they did that teaser for waiting for the porter's arrival for this morning. And it literally was just an announcement for Sam walking into the location. They dropped this and then gave another day and time of tomorrow morning. So I don't know what's happening. Not much to talk about there. Unfortunately, it's just a thing. They did confirm Kojima will be at Summer Games Fest. He'll be at the show, which, I mean, we always kind of suspected because he and Jeff are simpatico. They are tight, so not really a shock, but he'll be there, meaning we probably get like a 10-minute gameplay trailer, or let's be honest, because he's good friends with Jeff, he probably gets like half an hour for Death Stranding 2, but we've got that. The main thing I think we're going to look at today is, of course, Elden Ring Nightreign reviews went up, and they are actually a bit worse than I was even expecting. As you guys know, I was not a fan of the beta that I played. Beta, just not my thing. Like, all the things I love about Elden Ring were stripped out, and so what you end up with is something that looks like Elden Ring, but plays and feels very, very differently. Some people will love it, but I was still expecting like low 80s, but the Metacritic is actually sitting in the 70s. You know, it's I would not have guessed. I would not have guessed that FromSoftware would be coming out swinging with a like high 70s game this year, but because I think even Armored Core was 80s, right? Yeah, Armored Core was like high 80s, 86. Shadows beat it. Uh-oh! Get ready! There's gonna be some cope! Buckle up, fam! It's happening! Oh, God! Oh, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. The concept's fun. Again, I think you can have fun with it in, like, short spurts. I do not think in a month anybody will be talking about Nightreign. And that's been my expectation for months at this point, is that the game just doesn't, as a package, I just don't see the staying power of like of the pitch. I just don't see it. It doesn't strike me as a super robust live service concept. That doesn't mean it's not fun. There's plenty of live service games and multiplayer games that are fun in short spurts, but you're not going to be playing them for hundreds of hours or anything. Which is why for some people, I think it will be worth getting even still, but it's not my thing. I'll still try the final version, but can I show you guys some absolute brain rot? This is also really funny. Hold on. I have a couple of brain rot things to share that I just thought were really funny. I saw this TikTok randomly. It had like 45 likes, okay? Like 45. Nobody was watching this, but I found it very early and I saved the video and I checked on it last night. I saved it to the Discord thing where I keep track of all these topics, and we'll do a little follow-up on this. Basically, it is exactly what it seems like. This person just made this video to explain this.
Wow, I'm pissed. We ordered food from this place called the Duck Inn in Wolf Lake here. And we called because they messed up our food.
Oh, no.
For one, they know that I don't have teeth, so I can't chew.
We asked them for chicken strips that my wife can chew that are not hard. Please do not cook them too long.
Okay.
What do? They cook them too long.
Oh, God.
And now she can't eat them.
Having like a mental breakdown over the chicken strips.
Let me finish this first. We ordered freaking French fries with cheese sauce on them. Didn't get that.
Oh, damn.
I ordered chicken wings with a side of fries with cheese on it. Didn't get it.
Oh, my God. How Duck in Wolf Lake, what have you to say for yourself? Well, I looked it up, okay? Because other people did too. Okay? So the Duck in Wolf Lake, Illinois. Okay? Okay. Look at the new reviews. Okay. Very delightful experience. Diana was such a wonderful lady and made sure everything was up to par. I recommend ordering the chicken strips. Boy, were they delicious and made perfectly. They were easy to chew. Justice for Diane. My chicken tenders were delightful, cooked to perfection. Also, I just want to add that I had an amazing time. There's others. Perfectly cooked chicken strips. Delicious. The one bad part was hearing an unhinged woman screaming on the phone about her chicken strips. Oh my God. The strips were perfectly cooked and everyone's staff, both exceedingly pleasant. Diane made the best chicken tenders I've ever had. One of the best in Illinois. The cheese fries were cooked to perfection and the chicken strips weren't too hard. It's why I love this kind of thing. I love it. Like where it's just one person randomly on social media complaining about chicken strips. And then the business owner is just like, why are we getting flooded with reviews talking about how good the chicken strips are cooked? Oh, it's so funny, dude. It's so funny. And I love these little things where like you see a video and sometimes you're like, this is going to pop off. This is going like viral or something. So I saved it. And then I checked back later and sure enough, it, not like crazy viral. I think it had like, 100,000 views or something, but enough people thought like me to be like, I wonder what the Duck in Wolf Lake, Illinois is dealing with. So there's a little brain rot for you. It's, oh, I love it so much. I love it so much. And it's so insane to be sobbing, like scream crying over the chicken strips, but it's still funny. The other total brain rot, let me show you this. This is absolutely stupid. Just buckle up and then we'll get into gaming stuff. We all know about the AI stuff. By the way, Jacob or Trevor, if you guys choose to clip this, you can just be like brain rot part 0. Because there's plenty on the internet for this to become a series. Like for some reason in this video, the recommended video is the Redneck Pope blessing the land. I'm not even signed in. They know what I like. So this video, we all know AI is like a big thing. They've started doing like Google VO or VEO AI video challenges. of what we probably can expect to see on YouTube in the coming months.
Plunge into an active volcano. Let's send it. We spent $50 million to rebuild the Titanic just to sink it again. Last person to abandon ship gets a Lambo.
I covered my entire body in compost and waited to see what started growing.
Running for my life.
Dude, these are still better than most of the slop you see on those like Mr. Beast imitation channels. This at least is entertaining. I'll take this.
Island. Day 3. Should have picked Bali. All right. I've sealed my head in this plastic box, and I'm gonna try to read the entire dictionary before I pass out. Flying into North Korea with a lawn chair and 1,000 party balloons. Don't try this at home.
I'm about to survive.
Oh, sorry. It's the American flag shirt and the belly sticking out of the bottom.
I'm about to survive 100 days in the African savannah, only eating and drinking what my body already gave up. Basically, the circle of life.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today
Oh
we're
my
cooking
God.
with plutonium-239. It's hot, it's dangerous, and it's definitely illegal.
I'm doing K2 the honest way. Alone, unprepared, and in a straight line. Leave a comment for the search team.
Leave a comment for the search team. And then there's this one.
Into a zoo to prove one man is enough to fight a gorilla.
Welcome to the Chernobyl challenge. I'm gonna lick this glowing pole. Let's see how many views this gets.
No plan, no shoot, just content.
Bathing in liquid
Just
cement until it hardens. Let's get solid.
Let's get solid. Okay. I need to cut myself off. I'm going to die. Oh, let's get solid, everyone. Oh, it's so good. It goes on and on and on and on. Oh, people are like, I wonder what Luke does in his like private time when he's not streaming or playing games and stuff. I watch that stuff and it's so funny to me. Oh, okay. Oh, today we're doing the Chernobyl challenge. Leave a comment for the search team. Oh, so there you go. Oh, what challenge would you do? I'm sorry. The one I forgot about was he's like, I've sealed my head in a plastic bin and I'm gonna read the entire dictionary before I pass out. Oh, my tummy hurts. My face hurts. Oh, it's so good. Oh, that's all I need in my life is more of that. Oh. Oh, yeah, I love that. Jacob might need to make a few videos considering his AI songs are all bops. Yeah, it's dangerous, man, because you can pump them out so quick. It's just, oh, my face hurts. Oh, but it's so good. So good. Anyway, Mr. B spends millions of dollars. AI did this for like $100. Well, dude, that's the thing is there's going to be a lot of videos like this that are pumped out. Because let's be real, our grandparents probably can't tell the difference. They probably think all of that is real. I saw this video, Luke, that showed Mr. Beast recreated the Titanic and the last one off the ship won a Lambo. I just can't believe they could get people to sign up to do that. Like, and that's a huge chunk of people watching on like Facebook and all that. So this is just going to become the norm. I was talking to I met a guy at like a press event because he also did gaming content, but his bigger channel and like content that he makes most of his money off of is like AI brain rot stuff like that. He just has a team of like 20 people he pays as like hourly workers to just try and trace viral trends and search terms and stuff and make AI slop for it and then upload it to Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And that is where like most of his money comes from. And the dude's wealthy. And I was like, it's just, I can't. It just makes me want to give up on the internet. It's just so depressing. So depressing. But that's the future, kids. Buckle up. This is where we are. This is the future. But at least it's good to know that the Duck Inn is doing okay. Yeah, while it may be called the Duck Inn, oh boy, do they have the best chicken tenders ever. They were a little crunchy, but still soft enough to chew. Oh, it's so good. Oh, it's so funny. It's so funny. I can't. Okay, we have to focus. Otherwise, I'll never get anything done today. Let's get, what did she say? Let's get solid. Let's get solid. Okay. Jesus. All right. Well, thank you everybody for being here over on Twitch and YouTube. Also, shout out to Obi Owned Kenobi for subbing over on Twitch. Thank you for that. Thank you. Let's get solid, everybody. Let's do this. News segment. So, Elden Ring Nightreign. I left the reverb on. Hold on. Brr. Let's get solid. Okay. Actually, news segment. Also, shout out the Beard Machine for the sub. Thank you. 7 months. Ooh, baby. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Yeah, people were being paid. Well, we could probably touch on that because I mentioned it in the video. I have a video going up on the main channel later today about Mind's Eye. And yeah, the CEO or COO, one of the executives of their company, basically heavily suggested that people who are being critical of Mind's Eye are being paid, and heavily implied it was by Rockstar and Take-Two. And I'm like, bro, your game doesn't work. Do you really think Take-Two is like threatened by you? Like, pause for a second. Do you really think Take-Two Interactive, about to release GTA 6 next year, in almost exactly a year from now, do you really think that they are so worried about your broken game that devs had to turn God mode on during a preview to get through, that they're paying people off to talk badly about your game now? Because in a year, it'll still be doing so well, it affects the performance of GTA 6. Really? Really? I smell cope. If they are sending out checks, I missed the boat, man. Somebody get me in contact, because I've been doing this for free. What the hell? It's insane. Angry Joe's putting out an Expedition 33 review today. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday to you too. And sweet. That's great. More exposure for that game. The more, the better. Okay, let's talk about this real quick. Let's do it. New segment. Elden Ring Nightreign. I want to hear from you guys in chat. How many of you guys are going to be jumping into this? It launches in 2 days on the 30th. And my perspective has been, it's probably not for me. I'm going to try the final launch version because content, you know, maybe it's way better now than the beta that I played. I don't know. But in my opinion, it's just, I'm somebody that loved Elden Ring, and I feel like this game intentionally, you know, is trying to do something different, and they're experimenting with it. But it really does feel to me like they stripped out all the things I personally loved about Elden Ring and replaced it with just live service multiplayer stuff that I'm just not that interested in. Some people will absolutely love it, but I don't think I'm the type of person to love it. Nonetheless, the reviews have dropped, and it actually is coming in on Metacritic lower than I would have thought. I was still thinking this was like low 80s, like a B-, just when you factor in like how many FromSoft fans there are. But it's actually coming in right now, as of the time of filming this, right around 78, like high 70s, which is, again, lower than I was expecting it to be. You can compare that to the last spin-off project, because people will be like, well, Luke, it's a spin-off project, so it's not going to do as well as like Elden Ring or you know, a Bloodborne 2 or something. And that's fair, but their last spin-off project was Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon, and this did 86 on Metacritic. And so it's actually done a good bit less than that. And I did check, yeah, this is going to trigger people. AZ Shadows actually on Metacritic landed higher. Now, Metacritic does not indicate the quality of a game purely, but it gives you a good idea of what the general consensus is in terms of like at launch where we're at. And the general consensus seems to be that it's a little clumsy, it's clunky. And if you like the core components of it, you're going to just love it. You're going to eat it up. It's right up your alley. But there's little bitty things that just feel, I don't know, underdeveloped maybe. Like no crossplay, for example, which is kind of like a necessary thing nowadays. Just not here. No two-player, no duos. You can only do solo or trios. They just didn't do duos. They said they're considering it for after launch, but they just didn't do that. There's a bunch of little things like that. But I want to see the full review. We're going to check out the IGN one, see what they had to say. And we'll see. We'll see what they have to say about the game.
Elden Ring Nightreign is a weird one. It takes the foundation of one of the best open world RPGs of a generation and turns it into not just a roguelite where death is even more of a big deal, but a 3-person co-op focused roguelite. And in many ways, that strange experimental concoction is a success under the right conditions.
Okay. I do think, you know, people have raised good points because they're like, well, Luke, part of the success of Elden Ring is it has allowed them to experiment with this stuff they wouldn't have otherwise done. Which, yes, you can view that as like Elden Ring was so successful that now they can be more experimental. I think another way of looking at that, a different angle, is that Elden Ring was so successful that now they can justify rolling the dice on these kind of smaller cash grab projects that use the Elden Ring name to capitalize on the branding, you know, awareness or the brand awareness of the IP. Because a lot of people, and I think that this is a component of it, a lot of people are going to buy this not realizing that it's like a 3-player co-op online game and a roguelike. Like I was just telling one of my close friends like 3 days ago, because he had seen like a trailer for this. He thought it was like another expansion for Elden Ring, because he's not terminally online like you and me. He just like saw a trailer pop up on his phone one day and he's like, oh, that looks cool. He didn't really process that it was, no, it's not like an expansion. It's not like Shadow of the Erdtree. This is a totally separate thing. And, you know, that this is partially enabled because they were very successful with Elden Ring, so they can justify kind of rolling the dice more. But it's also, let's be real, it's trying to capitalize on the branding, which makes perfect sense.
Nightreign's 45-ish minute runs are positively thrilling. They are packed with surprising encounters, challenging decisions, satisfying opportunities for teamwork, and some of the best boss battles FromSoftware has ever come up with. And that's a very high bar. The big problem, however, is that those right conditions are far more difficult to create than they should be. You really need to have a consistent squad of similarly skilled players that are able to devote hours at a time in order to see what makes Nightreign special. And when you don't, the flaws of its design are magnified tenfold. There is excellence in this Elden Ring spin-off, but it's excellence that's just a little bit tarnished.
That was clever. I'll give you that. That was clever. Okay. That was clever. I like that, Mitchell Saltzman. That was good. That's clever. People ask you why we're watching the IGN one. We're watching the IGN video review because I don't typically like to step on the toes of other like individual content creators unless they specifically ask like, hey, Luke, can you react to my review or something? So I usually try to give them a little bit of breathing room. And IGN, love them or hate them, there's always something to talk about with an IGN video. I'll tell you what. There's always a little something, you know, to talk about. Tazmeister, thank you for the 5. I've heard it has bosses from other Souls games. Will they always be random each time you play? Or if you get the game late, would you miss a boss? I'm sure he'll talk about it, but basically there are different tiers of bosses. So there's sort of capstone bosses or end bosses that are the final challenge for the run, and those will be the same if you go on that run, if you choose that, you know, end boss. But within that run, getting to the end boss, there's all sorts of, you know, dynamic things where maybe you get invaded by this boss or this boss spawns over here, and so things can change within the run, but the final end cap boss is the same, if that makes sense. Cute Snacks, and Linrave. Thank you for the subs, my friends.
Let's get the most important caveat out of the way. If you are hoping to tackle Nightreign entirely solo, and are anything less than a hardcore Elden Ring player that actively seeks out ways to make that already difficult game even more challenging, Nightreign isn't for you. Yes, there is technically a single player option, but it's so poorly balanced that I would be honestly shocked if it isn't patched and adjusted within the first month of release. And this is coming from someone who lives and breathes these types of games. To understand why, we first need to go...
That's unfortunate, because we were hoping after the beta that they were going to do a lot of balancing and fixing with that stuff. So if it's still really broken, even for a hardcore Soulsborne player, that's unfortunate, because then it's basically just trios. And I'm sorry, like, even Apex, like, the reason I liked Apex was actually because of the arena mode that I'm not actually sure if arenas are even still in Apex Legends, but I love the arena mode because you could largely go in solo if you're doing ranked, and you could get with a good team that was capable. But in a game like this, like, it's so much about team coordination, and it's so much about making sure the stuff you're picking within the roguelike mode synergizes with what other people are picking. You just have to have good communication. And that's one thing they're going to mention, is that the in-game, like, communication systems are just not ready or not present at all. Yeah, but we'll get there.
Over what Nightreign even is.
It's back again? Oh, that's good to hear. I grinded the hell out of that arena mode back in the day, tell you what.
On a very basic level, this is a roguelite that takes place on an island called Limveld, which is kind of like a melting pot of Elden Ring's environments, enemies,
Shadow
bosses,
melting pot.
and structures. The general flow of a run is split up into a 3-day cycle. On days 1 and 2, it's all about farming gear, defeating bosses, and leveling up so that you're as prepared as possible when you face off against one of the 8 extremely difficult Nightlord bosses on day 3. It's a great formula.
So there's 8 bosses that are the capstone bosses at the end. Their goal is, as I understand it, to add more of those after launch, so they'll continue updating the game. They might even sell some of them, we just don't know. But whether, you know, it means a free update with 2 new, you know, end game bosses or capstone bosses, or if they do it where it's like, oh, you want the new boss, it's $10 to get that pass for that boss. We don't know precisely what they're doing. Maybe they have said and I'm just not aware, in which case somebody please correct me, but my understanding is it's still kind of a question mark as to how they're going to handle all of that long-term
And while you
support.
might think that the mostly static map would get old after a while, there's a good amount of procedural generation on every run that mixes up the location of just about every point of interest, requiring you to plan out a unique route on each new attempt. On top of that, there are also random events like boss raids, summoning portals, and other wild occurrences that inject a heavy level of chaos every once in a while. Efficiency is key because you are on a very strict time limit, with a battle royale-esque circle that constricts at set points throughout the day, eventually shrinking to the size of a small battlefield and setting the stage for a boss battle that ends the night. It is immediately obvious that Nightreign was designed with a 3-player squad in mind. Enemy encampments that don't require you to fight a single boss will instead have you spread out to take down 3 tough enemies. Basic encounters against 5 or more enemies that would be trivial with 3 players become costly time wasters when you're on your own. And the new Nightlord bosses all seem explicitly designed with having allies in mind, and I'm not sure how I would even approach several of them by myself. Nightreign at least scales up your damage when you're alone, but it doesn't change any of these fundamental design decisions in any way that would make solo play more reasonable.
Because there are some boss fights where, like, you need to pull aggro with one player while the other player goes around, smacks that booty. Or, like, if there's multiple, there's maybe 2 enemies, you pull aggro with one, then 2 players team up against the other. Maybe you could do it with duos, but there are no duos in the game right now. So, like, if it is in fact the case that it is primarily, like, almost completely trios, okay. But then, I mean, you just have to be realistic. And anybody who's like, well, I'm going to be playing it solo, I'm going to play it like I did Elden Ring, it's like, I might not have that good of a time. Because I've not played the final version of the game, I only played the beta. But the guy that is big into Elden Ring, big into Soulsborne games in general, he's saying that the single player playthroughs are not really viable.
But the biggest issue is that co-op partners are able to revive each other when someone goes down, but you've only got one life to live against bosses when you're out on your own. That's
Why not just give like a self revive? Maybe you get one, maybe two when you're going solo, and they're just like, yep, this is how we kind of balance it, so you at least get a couple chances, just like if you were downed by the boss and then your teammates res you or something. That would seemingly be, I would think, relatively easy to implement, but apparently not.
It's generally the case in roguelites, but usually there's some sort of safety net that you can fall back on. For example, Hades has Death Defiances, and part of the progression of that game allows you to work towards unlocking more of them with every run. Returnal has artifacts that you can find that give you extra lives, rewarding you for being more thorough in your exploration. Spelunky has shortcuts that allow you to skip the early stages to get practice on the enemies, traps, and bosses that you only have limited experience with. The list goes on, but Nightreign has virtually nothing to make up for the fact that solo players lose access to that crucial revival option. There is an item that will resurrect you once with half of your life, but it's limited to the highest rarity tier, meaning you have to choose it over a legendary weapon if one does appear as a reward. Similarly, you may find them in a shop, but they cost a substantial amount of runes that you could instead use to level up. Either way, it's just not a solution that makes up for the crippling detriment of not having someone to revive you if you go down.
And I mean, again, there's other ways that they could try to balance it, like making the bosses weaker, lower HP pools, or, you know, whatever they could do, increase your damage, whatever. But if it really is just the same exact game mode, everything's the same, except now you go in without teammates, then yeah, it's going to be broken as hell. Like, it's just not going to work. You have to do some balancing. Even Monster Hunter games do this, where it's like, you know, you play solo, the boss has a certain amount of HP, you play in 2, 3, or 4 player mode, and the boss gets like triple the health or double the health. I think it depends on what difficulty the challenge is, but I mean, it balances at least for solo play versus multiplayer, whereas this, it seems like it just doesn't.
None of this is to say that solo play is outright impossible, and I have had a few successful runs on my own, just that the balancing of solo play feels like a job half finished, and as a result, the frustration of playing alone wasn't worth the triumph for me to have any desire to play it more without a squad.
Well, and it kind of furthers I have like this gut feeling with this game that this was a fun idea they had, and they're like, hey, we could do it as a free update to Elden Ring, or we could try to sell it as its own thing. And then the publishers were like, you should sell it as its own thing. And so they've kind of thrown it together. There's parts of it that are really, really like thought out carefully, like the procedural generation stuff. And then there's other parts that I feel like are much more rushed, as I think he'll get to with like the communication systems between players, with the balancing for solo play, where it's like, if it's that busted, why is there even solo play to begin with? And things like that, where you're like, did we just not finish it? Have we not like thought this through? It kind of gives you that vibe.
Nightreign's saving grace is that when you do have a squad of 3 people who all know what they're doing, communicate well, and are generally pretty skilled at Elden Ring, it really is a lot of fun.
And yeah, I mean, I think playing it with friends would be significantly more fun than even what I did during the beta, which was playing with randoms. That's the tricky thing, though, is it's just, as he alluded to at the top of the review, this is the kind of game where like you need similar skill levels with your friends, and they need to sit down with you just like with any other co-op game and set aside 2, 3, 4 hours for a session, and you just need to grind it out. And it's just a big commitment for a lot of people. And of course, some games you can get that, whether you play Marvel Rivals together, or you play, you know, with your friend group, maybe you do Warzone or Fortnite, whatever it may be. But that type of commitment is tricky. So I think a lot of people will play with randoms that they just load in with, which is why, again, having in-game communication systems, in-game voice chat, prox chat, whatever it is, can be really, really helpful. Anti-Gravity makes a good point, thank you for the 5, and says, hey Luke, love the content, big fan of Elden Ring 2. Why don't they have 2 NPCs or summons for solo players? What do you think? I mean, that would make a lot of sense to me, frankly. And we know they did the whole summon thing. They did literal mimics within Elden Ring, the core games, maybe there's like a technical restriction or something. I don't know, but that would seemingly be the most obvious thing to do, is just have like NPCs that fight with you. There's a summoner class called Revenant. Well, what they're specifically saying is like, instead of teammates, if you're going in solo, you just play with bots basically. And the bots are your teammates with the same amount of health, with the ability to revive you, with all of that. And they just take the place of other players. I guess you could do that, but I don't know. Uniform says NPC AI and pathing is not their strong suit. That would be, or would have been nice, but likely would have been a headache to get right. Well, and it brings up the other question, which is that there's other components of the game that seem kind of rushed, or like they didn't have as big of a budget as you would expect for a mainline FromSoft game. And so they just didn't have the time or budget or resources to do that. And so they just didn't. I'm not sure.
The central idea of taking an entire game's worth of progression and condensing it into a 40-minute run is a strong one. Going from cutting down rats with a basic weapon to culling Elden Ring's most fearsome bosses with a badass armament that you may or may not have gotten to use in the main game is one of the coolest and most satisfying parts. It's 80 plus hours of character growth condensed into less than an hour and shot straight into your veins.
And again, I can understand why some people would like that. For me though, probably my favorite component of Elden Ring is the build crafting. I love coming up with like a cool way to mix and match different pieces of armor or talismans or weapons, whatever it may be, to build something that is particularly potent against a certain boss. I love that kind of thing. But in this game, like, it's very intentionally not that. And again, I can understand why people would love it this way or love it for being this way, but you know, it's just not the same, man. How is this not considered an asset flip? Well, I mean, it literally is. They are taking assets and flipping it into a new game. I think asset flip tends to have a very derogatory, I guess, it feels very derogatory to just be like asset flip, where it implies that there's been no effort put in whatsoever. And I do think there has been effort put in here, at least in parts. I've seen people get really excited over the idea that you can fight like Nameless King or something, like, you know, other older Soulsborne bosses and stuff that they've copy and pasted into here. I've seen some people say they're really excited about that. I personally don't get that. I'm like, I was hoping for something new. You know, I don't get to spend old dollars on this game. They're asking for new dollars, real dollars. So just copy and pasting, I don't get why people are so willing to just hand wave that away. I'm like, that seems kind of lazy just because you really like that game. I liked Dark Souls 3 too. I did. But like, I was hoping for new bosses, you know, personally. I don't know, man. FromSoft is entering their BGS arc. I mean, if they get to the point where like Miyazaki is screwing up his big games, I could see that. You got to remember that like even BGS, they did some experimental stuff. Like, you remember when they announced the Fallout Shelter game back in 2015 with Fallout 4, and everybody's like, what the hell are they doing? They're a mobile game studio now. And I don't think it was that fair to freak out as much about that, because that was more of an experimental thing. It was just a different kind of thing that they wanted to try. And it was honestly pretty good. The game's still going to this day, a decade later. It's crazy, but yeah, Fallout Shelter still makes good money. But with this, I mean, I think it's just an indication of them being like, hey, we've got this big IP. Live service stuff makes good money. What if we just experiment with this? Well, let's try it. And there's been other speculation and stuff. People have suggested maybe part of the way, because you remember FromSoftware has been trying to self-publish and get free of Bandai Namco and buy the rights to their own publishing. And so some of the speculation has been that this game was made as a deal to get their own publishing rights moving forward. So it's kind of like a tit for tat. Okay, we get the publishing rights, but in exchange, we'll make you this live service game real quick. You know, there's been speculation something like that is happening. I don't know. Again, a lot of people will love this. I'm not sure for how long. A lot of people love it. I just, as I find out more and more and more, that 78 on Metacritic is making more sense.
Dropping into a run the first couple of times is certainly overwhelming, mostly because of the amount of information on the minimap you have to process, but at least FromSoft keeps the inventory and stat management very simple. Level ups are automatic, letting you press a button at a site of grace to automatically level your class's preferred stats. And as far as weapon stats go, all you have to worry about here is the damage number, the elemental affinity, the passive bonus you get simply for having the weapon in your inventory, and the weapon skill that comes along with it. This meant when I had a choice between 3 rewards, I was able to very quickly make a judgment on what I needed at that moment and continue on my way. Eventually I started to understand what rewards were offered at which camps, which ones were quick and could be cleared before the circle closed in, which ones I should do only if I had a lot of extra time, what level I should attempt certain roaming bosses, and which bosses I should absolutely avoid unless my team was really confident in our builds. Exploring these areas can be more frustrating than it needs to be, thanks to a new wall climbing ability that just feels straight up bad. Especially when it takes 3 attempts to jump over what looks like should be an easily scalable wall as you're trying to escape from the encroaching circle. But learning the...
It's one of those things that also feels a little bit rushed. Like, I'm guessing a developer threw this together and they were like, look, it kind of works. And they maybe played around with the idea of putting it in the base game, but then like, don't bother with it. It's not ready. And then they just decided to bring it over to this. Because even in the beta, again, I was hoping that they would have fixed it, but even in the beta, it was pretty clunky. And so it's apparently not been fixed.
The ins and outs of the map helped my efficiency and led to a very satisfying feeling of skill progression that wasn't tied to the actual progression system that offers persistent improvements between attempts. That system is tied to relics that can be won after completing a run. Whether you win or lose, you still get relics, but the better you perform, the better the quality and quantity of relics you earn. These can be equipped before a run and impart stat bonuses, starting skills or elemental affinities for your initial weapon, buffs for performing certain actions, and in some cases, they can even improve the skills of a specific class. When you're just starting out, these bonuses are hardly noticeable and too random to really make any sort of compelling build from, but eventually, with enough runs under your belt, you'll get some powerful relics that can really start to have an effect on your power level in a run. That said, there should really be more of an element of choice with regards to the meta progression, or at least a way to control some of the randomness. There are a small selection of relics that you can buy at the jar shop inside your base before runs, and there are set relic rewards for being Night Lord bosses and completing class-specific objectives called remembrances, but other than that, you're completely at the mercy of the RNG gods when it comes to what relics you get. It can be really annoying when you're looking to strengthen your preferred class, and you keep getting relics that just don't do anything for you.
Feels like if you're playing as a given class, you should get relics for that class. Because I agree, it's really annoying when you're like playing a roguelike game and then you get a reward for like a weapon you're not using or something. And I understand the idea is like, oh, well, maybe now you'll use that weapon because you got this thing for it. And it's the same thing, like even we brought up Apex Legends earlier. You find like a gold attachment for a sniper rifle, but you're like, I'm not using a sniper rifle right now, but I have the gold attachment. So maybe I swap to it in order to use that attachment that I just got. You know, so it makes you think about it. So I don't know. I have to think about it more. But it can be very frustrating. Again, this is just one of those things where it's like, it's probably just not for me. Because some of these things people are hearing, and I'm sure a lot of people are loving this. They're like, oh, yes, thank God. Thank the gods of FromSoftware that there's plenty to grind. And I respect it. If you like to grind like that, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool, man. But the more I hear about this, I'm like, I just want to play Elden Ring. You know, it's like, oh. Skadoosh.
One of the biggest departures compared to what we're used to from Elden Ring is that the classes are now actual classes, with unique skills and gameplay styles, as opposed to soft classes that just determine your starting stats and weapons. And the 8 options are varied and well defined, with even the most basic archetypes having some interesting twists to them. The Wilder, for instance, is the general jack of all trades, but also has access to a nifty grappling hook that can be used to pull weak enemies towards you, zip yourself towards larger enemies, or simply zoom you around the field at high speeds if you aim it on the ground. In addition to the basic fighter, mage, and ranger archetypes, you also have a few completely unique choices that don't fit into any pre-existing mold. One of the most interesting classes is the Executor, whose main skill has you pulling out a unique sword with a Sekiro-like parrying mechanic tied to it. Basically, by blocking attacks with proper timing, you completely negate damage, don't lose any stamina, and reduce the enemy's own stamina, potentially opening them up for a critical hit. It's a very risky class, especially in a game where missing a parry can mean almost certain death, and it feels like the offensive power of the Sekiro sword is a little too weak to justify the risk of the parries, but I appreciate this inclusion nonetheless as both a nod to Sekiro and a completely different way to approach combat. As mentioned, each of the classes has a remembrance tied to them, which is essentially a collection of journal entries that chronicle the story of how they wound up in Limveld and their purpose for being there. It's a far cry from the rich lore that we're used to in FromSoft games, but at least each of the remembrances has a handful of playable chapters that have you completing specific objectives in order to earn powerful relics, as well as a healthy amount of runes to help you level up during the actual run itself. Almost all of Nightreign is made up of existing Elden Ring parts, but there are a few surprise bosses that are pulled from the Dark Souls series as well. But the 8 Night Lords are brand new, and oh boy, they're almost all unlike any boss FromSoft has ever designed before.
Yeah, and I like the idea of these. I like the idea of something totally fresh and new, especially because, as he alluded to earlier, allegedly, some of these are crazy cool. The one... Did they have more than one? I think it was just one. I could be wrong about that. But the during the beta, the one they had was good. But this is the guy that's very, very interesting that I've not seen much on.
Many of them are clearly inspired by MMO boss battles, with a number of party-wiping attacks that must be stopped or interrupted before they get a chance to finish their preparation. Others are designed to split the party up into roles to either hold aggro or press the assault, and some are just designed to be all-out wars against absurdly aggressive foes. They're almost all bangers, with only one of them being a dud, due to the best strategy simply being hanging back and pelting them with arrows for what felt like an hour. Still, 7 out of 8 is still pretty great, especially when those 7 are among the best FromSoftware has ever created, with excellent accompanying soundtracks to match. I don't want to spoil them too much, but the fight against the Fisher and the Fog boss in particular is so good it gave me goosebumps all throughout. But the creativity of those bosses once again shines a light on the eldritch elephant in the room. They only really work as a team, and by far the 2 biggest issues facing Nightreign right now are 1. The shocking lack of crossplay, and 2. The absence of a duos playlist. If you play as a duo, you will be forced to fill the 3rd player with matchmaking. It is simply a lot to ask of a group of 3 people who all must have purchased the $40 game, play on the same platform, be of a similarly matched skill to be able to handle the extreme challenge of the day 3 bosses, have the time to devote 45 minutes per run, and also can agree on fighting the same boss that they may or may not need to beat for their own individual progression. There is a decent pinging system that at least makes it possible for light communication with a group of randos, but there's no built-in voice chat, which makes nuance like trying to communicate that your group should hit the basement of the castle instead of the front or side entrance virtually impossible. It's just a night and day difference when you're able to group up with a squad that communicates well and knows what they're doing versus when you've got one that doesn't listen to you or just constantly makes bad decisions, especially with no way to vote to cancel or quit out of a run without penalty. That makes...
Yeah. I do wonder how they're matchmaking people. I wonder. Because if there could be like just something as simple as an account ranking. So if you've played a ton of the game, you get matched with other people who've played a ton of the game. Or it might be just a total free-for-all. It was one of the interesting things we asked them about with Marathon, because Marathon also is almost entirely, you know, about going in as trios. And it was like, so how do you matchmake people? Like, how do you make sure that if you're really experienced, you're not getting paired with noobs, or if you're a noob, maybe, you know, you get helped by higher level players or something. And they didn't really have an answer. And I got the vibe that they might just be like freeballing it and just be like, yeah, we just throw people together, whatever. I was like, yeah, that seems like a bad idea. Seems like either way, I think there should be like games like Marvel Rivals, for example, have sort of a reputation system where you can upvote or downvote people, or upvote, I think just no downvote, but you can upvote people who are really good in the match. And then that makes them more likely to get matched. I think Overwatch does a similar thing. And so they're more likely to get matched with other players who have high rankings and high ratings and stuff. And so there could be a reputation system they could implement. Again, no in-game voice chat just seems like such an oversight, because it seems like such an obvious thing to do. Like, you matchmake with random people, you hop in a voice chat, and you can talk to each other. And maybe then if they play really well, you're like, hey, I'm going to add you to my friends list. We can keep playing. And we'll use Discord or something. You can do that, but I don't know, man.
It's the prospect of random matchmaking on the live server.
It's not a conspiracy. It's a confirmed experiment. Miyazaki let the combat designer create a game with his ideas, which is fine. But that doesn't mean that there shouldn't be some of these basic quality of life things. Like, if you're going to have a cooperative game, you kind of need a means to cooperate and talk and interact. Like, having a single ping system, I just don't think is enough. And it's like, it's fine to experiment with fresh ideas, but there are not experimental dollars. Again, like, it's real money that they're charging for this. And so if there's little basic things that you would expect to see in a co-op game that are just absent, it's weird.
Pretty unappealing. When Elden Ring Nightreign is played exactly as it was designed to be played, it's one of the finest examples of a 3-player co-op game around. The 8 character classes are each fun to use and feature a surprising amount of depth despite their limited movesets. The new Nightlord boss battles are among the best FromSoft has ever crafted and make the most of the 3-player dynamic, and the fast-paced racing and clock nature of each run leads to exciting moments of split-second decision-making and frantic rushes to try to finish up a fight before the circle closes in. But a lack of crossplay, duo matchmaking, and built-in communication tools makes it hard to create the conditions needed to have this kind of experience unless you're bringing 2 real-life friends on every run. And if you want to just play by yourself, I can't recommend it because of the poor solo mode balancing.
The nice thing is, almost everything he just listed should be fixable. Like, almost all of that. You can add, and fix solo queuing. You can add duos mode and rebalance the game accordingly. You can improve communication systems, whether that's adding an in-game chat or maybe just adding duos fixes that, because now if you only have 2 players, you can play together, and you don't need a random to fill. So, like, a lot of these things can be fixed and improved. It just doesn't sound like they'll be fixed and improved at launch. The no crossplay, my understanding is that is a much bigger deal, which is almost certainly why it's not in the game. Because it involves crazy overhauls to network code, which is not something you can just, we'll patch it in. Like, it's a huge undertaking to add crossplay. So I'd be surprised if they ever brought that. I don't think they'll bring that, but
this amounts to an ambitious spin-off that's exhilarating when you're able to create the proper conditions, and one that quickly flips to incredibly frustrating when you're not.
Yeah. Dude, there's so much of this video left. Why is there so much left? They're just gonna do a chat session? That's weird. So anyway, I think okay, some of these comments are funny. Okay, the most difficult task for a Souls fan will be finding 2 friends. Boom, roasted. That's funny. Honestly, stunned that there aren't summoned options for solo play and crossplay for multiplayer. Yeah, it seems really bizarre. It must be like a server issue or like some tech issue, because it seems like such an obvious thing. Wait, no crossplay? Damn, that's disappointing at this age of games. Yeah. No duos, crossplay, and voice chat is unacceptable in this day and age, especially for a multiplayer-centric game. Yeah, you would think so, but they're saving all of their in-game chat for the Switch 2, for that weird Nintendo Discord ripoff. Because I'll bet you that when they release that game, I already forgot what it's called. Do you remember what it's called? Duskbloods? Is it Duskbloods? For that game, you better believe they're going to have in-game like chat, but that in-game chat is going to be part of the Nintendo Switch always online thing. You better believe it. This is Mitchell Saltzman, who reviewed Elden Ring originally and gave it a 10. He's also IGN's resident sweaty gamer. Definitely trust his opinion with this. Yeah, this is why, like, he's not, this is not a guy that's trying to hate. He's just saying, yeah, it's pretty busted, which should give you pause if the sweaty, like, Soulsborne fan is saying that it's a 7. For the average gamer, does that mean this is a 6? You know, like, what does that actually mean? No voice chat is just completely dumb decision in a game that really requires working together. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I agree. 7 out of 10 FromSoft game before GTA 6. If it's made for 3 people, I feel like maybe you should have gone the Dragon's Dogma route. For those who want to play solo, getting companions takes some aggro since enemies spawn 4 and have the aggression for 3. Maybe build your own team at the start or something. I agree. Like, just allow summons. The fact it's not there, it's got to be some technical restriction. A 4K review from IGN got to be an anomaly. Shout out Derek. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Someone said it. I knew it would be the lowest Soulsborne rating all along. Good for you. They gave it a 7. Yep. Not getting this game until they add duos. It's ridiculous oversight that they don't have it as an option. Yeah, it's weird. TLDR for everyone who doesn't want to watch the video. Basically, solo play bad due to balancing issues, but multiplayer very good and fun. Will be interesting to see how Duskblood shapes up in comparison. I mean, a lot of this, it feels like if they had more time and money, they could have expanded a lot of the feature sets. Like, they could have done plenty to add, like, in-game voice chat, to add duos, to balance single player. They could have done a lot of that. I get the vibe that they had a limited, like, budget, limited time, and so they just kind of threw this together with what they had. And the good thing about that is that hopefully they can fix it and get it where it needs to be. It may be a 78 today, or, you know, in 2 days when the game launches, but it may be an 85 or a 90 in 3 months or 6 months or something, once they fix that stuff and added stuff. It just means right now it's a 78, right? And hopefully in time it gets those things fixed. That assumes that they end up fixing it. The danger with live service stuff is that once you put something out, there is a real incentive on the part of publishers to pull funding if it doesn't immediately get a hook. And this might pop off. I mean, you never know. Maybe we see on Steam in 2 days that this has 500,000 concurrent players and it just blows everybody away. My gut is saying it's going to be less so, but who knows? I guess let me ask you guys this. In all the chats, I want to hear your prediction for peak day 1 player counts on Steam. What do you think? What do you think? Because I mean, obviously it's not going to be like Elden Ring.
Fee donated $19.99 through Super Chat. This year's nominees for Game of the Year is getting pretty stacked.
Yeah, baby.
I really don't want the spots given to remakes or remasters again. It takes away spots from new games that never get a chance. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree, V. Thank you for the 20 again. That very generous. That's crazy. But I agree. My general feeling is that there should be a remake remaster category, and you should treat them differently. That's just my perspective, because no matter what, a good chunk of the work was done years ago by the people who made the original. Like, I even love like Oblivion Remaster. I love the Mafia Definitive Edition, which is a total remake. I mean, that is a remake of all remakes, where they had to redo everything. But the writing, the direction, the vibes, the art direction, all of that was done decades ago, you know? So I feel like it should just be its own category, in my opinion. And that's just my perspective. Same thing with DLC.
Austin donated $9.99
I don't think they should be considered either.
Through Super Chat.
Thank you, Austin.
Luke, I didn't pop my cherry last night, but made sweet love to my wife.
Oh, good.
I just thought I would continue this trend. My God, smile upon Luke, and may your ring be Elden.
May your ring be Elden too, my friend. Let's get solid. Thank you, my friend. And good for you. Good for you. Getting some exercise. That's great. Cody also gifted 5 memberships on YouTube. That's fantastic. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Let's see. What was I saying? Let's see. Logan with a 5. Optimistic conspiracy theory. Nightreign is a test bed for FromSoftware so they can workshop new ideas. Also just watched season 1 and season 2 of The Last of Us. They were both awful. Season 1, I liked. Season 2, I don't know, man. I'm thoroughly confused at the mess that is season 2 of The Last of Us show. Thoroughly confused by it, frankly. I don't understand what's happening. The whole thing's stupid. Everything's stupid. Everything is awful. Everything's miserable when you're part of a team. Let's see. Oops. Back. Where's my chat? Pull up the chat. Pull up the log. Okay, so you guys are guesstimating right now. You guys are guesstimating 75k players, 69 giggity, 350 riding Elden Ring's wave. You guys really think it's in the hundreds of thousands? I'm not so sure it gets past, like, I really, guys, I'm not sure if it breaks 100. Like, I'd be surprised. How many, do we know pre-order numbers? Is it really high? I mean, I very well could just be totally wrong. I genuinely don't know. Nobody in my inner circle of like friends and stuff are looking to buy Nightreign, especially after today. And usually I can kind of rely on that as a rough guesstimate. Anecdotal, grant you, but still. But like some people are guessing that it's going to have like 300,000. I don't think so, dude. It's number 1 on Steam. Well, in the last week of sales or like current filters, remove these filters. Okay. Started matching tiers lows. Might be really high on the wish list, but I don't know, man. Go buy Metaphor, by the way. Metaphor ReFantazio is on sale, 35% off. Go buy that. Space Marine 2 as well. Go buy that. Do it now. Stop giving me money. Go buy the game. I just hope Duskbloods ain't another version of this. I mean, I think it'll be way bigger budget. I think it'll be much larger scale, but like, I don't think it, it's going to be a co-op game. And I think it's going to be always online. It's going to be co-op. It's going to run on a Switch, so it probably won't run too well. Like, I just think, yeah. And it will literally not have crossplay because it will be exclusive to the Switch too. Maybe that's another question. Honestly, guys, I want to know, because we have some hardcore FromSoft fans in the chat. I've seen your messages. I know you're into it. And I appreciate you still being here, even as I complain about this. But I want to genuinely know, how many of you guys out there, Twitch, YouTube, all of you, how many of you guys are actually going to buy a Switch 2 for the next FromSoft game next year? Like, how many people are going to do that? Because I genuinely am like, there's a lot of hardcore FromSoft fans, but the one thing that they're also hardcore against, they do not like having their arm twisted into like going console exclusive. Like that, I just am not sure if that actually works. But you know, if it ends up launching and it's like 10 out of 10s across the board, maybe then it's like a big console seller. But that's the thing, is it's also like console exclusive, and then it's also like a PvP game. And so I still am like, I think that there's a lot of reasons for FromSoft fans to shrug it off. And just like, not for me. I considered it until Nintendo announced their prices. Well, yeah, because you better believe that's going to be an $80 game. Like, yeah. And everybody's like, that game is going to require the Nintendo Online membership. And I bet you good money they're going to raise prices right before. So when you buy the console for the first time and you're about to play the new FromSoft game, you have to spend the extra money to get the Nintendo Online thing. And like, oh, sorry guys, we had to take away the 1 month membership. It's only the 12 month or 6 month. You have to sign up for more than 1 month. They're going to do stuff like that because they can. Do you really think Nintendo will all of a sudden feel generous? No. No way in hell. They're going to feel real greedy. So I don't know, man. That whole thing, that's going to be a dumpster fire next year, I feel. I think we've largely put it off because it's in the future. We don't have to think about it right now. But I'll tell you what, that whole thing is going to be a mess. I'm like 90% sure it'll be a masterpiece. Probably. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be, for that type of game, a very good game, because that's, Miyazaki knows what he's doing. But the question is just whether they can get people to buy a $500 console and then like another $50 to $80 online membership and an $80 copy of the game. Like, you're asking people to spend $650, $700 US, because you're probably also not playing that on Joy-Cons. You probably also want a Pro controller. Like, you might start approaching $700 for one game effectively. That's not great. I think a lot of people are going to be like, I'll wait till they port it to PC in a year, which they probably do, right? Like, I'd be surprised if it stays exclusive forever, but maybe it does. Just waiting for an extraction FromSoftware extraction game. I mean, that's kind of what Nightreign is. You like go into the matches, you fight the bosses, you extract with their stuff. I don't know, man. But yeah, I'm genuinely surprised that it ended up as low as it has. I really was expecting it to land higher. I'm a little surprised, but I think it really is, because if it clicks in trios with a party of your friends, you can have an amazing time, but you need your friends.
The problem with Duskbloods being the Switch 2 exclusive for FS fans is that the Switch doesn't have many other games that FromSoft fans typically enjoy. Meanwhile, PS or PC does.
That's totally fair. A lot of people who are FromSoft fans, they specifically play those types of games almost exclusively. I mean, they get really, really into them. And so I think that's a totally fair point. Like, maybe this is the start of that. Maybe they start getting more after that. But yeah, I think that's totally fair.
Logan Levesque donated $10 through Super Chat.
Thank you, Logan.
Jor's mom here. Just wanted to say thank you for taking care of him.
Of course.
He's a good kid who loves his mother, not like Chris Chan. I'm just worried about his Aloy obsession. He's got an Aloy body pillow. Yeah, we're all worried about it. I'll tell you what, we're all pretty worried about it. But I think he's doing okay. And I think the problem with Chris Chan is he loved his mom a little too much. Also, shout out... Hold on, where'd it go? Where'd it go? Is this it? No. Yeah, I think there's going to be, for some people, they'll play Nightreign and it will have them shouting for joy. But for others, I think they're going to try it and it's going to be just not for them. But the thing is, like, if you're not into the game after seeing these trailers and these reviews, I can't imagine somebody's like, yeah, let me put up whatever it is, $40 to try it. Like, I just don't see that happening. So, yeah, $40 for pre-order. Yeah, dude. It technically releases tomorrow. I thought it said the 30th, but it might be the 30th in another time zone, like in the Japanese time zone. I don't freaking know. My time is all off. So at the very beginning of this video, I said 2 days away. That's not correct. Jacob put text on screen, I guess, when you edit it. It's actually tomorrow it launches, in 1 day and 4 hours, which means it's kind of a weird time to launch, frankly, like early afternoon. But okay, whatever. Let's see. Thank you, NPC. Mr. NP Character donated $10 through Super Chat. Have you looked into Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon?
Mm-hmm. Yes. I've put a little bit of time into it. Like I wouldn't say I'm overly familiar with, but I put a little bit of time into it. I have it on my Steam Deck and Ally, so I'm just chugging through it. It's one of my games to play at night, laying in bed. Just kind of a chill, relaxing kind of game. Let's see. Okay. Quizo, thank you for the membership. Thank you.
Did you ever take a look at the AI generated Arc Aquatica DLC trailer I mentioned a couple weeks ago? Yeah, really bizarre. I don't know why they thought that was a good idea, but I guess nothing really surprises me anymore. It was, yeah, that was a bold choice. That was a bit bold choice. But I guess, you know what, let's do a final straw poll to wrap this up. Day 1 peak concurrent player count for Nightreign. I'm gonna go, I mean it definitely does above 10, so we'll do 10k to 50k. Or actually, some of you guys were guessing like 30. So I'll do 25. We'll do 26k to maybe 50k. And then we'll do 51k to 75k. 76k to 100k. 100 to 200. And then we'll do 200 to like 500, which I think would be insane. But we'll try this. Okay, so this is specifically asking about the peak player counts, okay? Peak player counts, which probably happened day 1, okay? Well, let me paste into the chat. So let me do it this way. Okay. Here we go. There it is in the chats. Pop over, give that a vote. There we go. On Steam only? Yeah, it's the only one we can track. Yeah, it's the only one we can track. So it's just Steam, to be clear. Maybe they'd say afterwards what the total player count was across all platforms. We don't know those. So we'll just go with Steam only, okay? Just Steam. What do you think? What do you think? Okay. Seems like 50, somewhere between 50 and 100 is where a ton of the vote share is. Like over half. Oh, it's spreading out pretty good. Wowza canowza. What's another similar? Is there anything roughly similar? I do think being $40 will help. Yeah. Steam only. I don't know if there is another similar live service game. What did like Space Marine 2 launch at? I wonder. Space Marine 2 launched at all-time peak of 225. Okay. Marathon. Marathon's tricky because it's it was a closed alpha, so they only invited like a few people, very select group. I think it'll have a fast drop off. Yeah, I mean, I think we could do maybe another poll where it's like peak during the first week versus the peak in the second week, because I do expect it'll fall off pretty hard. I think after you play 15 hours, you've pretty much seen everything it has to offer. The long-term regression, some people will click with and they'll no life this for 1,000 hours, but I think for the average gamer, they'll just move on relatively quickly. Which for $40 might be totally justified, but everyone was hyped for Spider-Man, Space Marine 2. Yeah, but that's the thing I'm trying to gauge. Like, is there hype for Nightreign? Maybe you guys know better than I. If you're in tune with the Soulsborne community, maybe the subreddits or something, are people hyped for it, or are they really kind of standoffish and skeptical? Because I genuinely am not sure. I'm in my bubble, in my zone, it's not that people are not that intrigued.
Skeptical, no. Mixed, I don't think so. Not for me. Nah, not from what I've seen. All the Elden Ring streamers are hyped for it from what I've seen. Well, I mean, I'm sure they're hyped because they've got something to make content on. I'm sure that's very exciting. I'd be excited too if I was waiting on it all this time, but I don't know, man. Not hype, just nonchalant. I think a lot of people are gonna shrug it off and just be like, yeah, it's not for me. Which honestly is probably a much better outcome than a lot of other games could get, because like Assassin's Creed is going to start launching these live service games, for example. They're going to start launching some multiplayer ones. And I do expect when they do that, there's going to be a lot of rage around that. At least I kind of expect there to be some good blowback, unless they pair it with announcements of like high quality remakes or remasters. I think that would help it a lot. But with, you know, getting players to just shrug it off and be like, it's not for me. That's probably better than seeing people who are fans of the core game freak out about it. But man, Duskblood will go the same way. Well, especially with a much taller ask. I mean, Nightreign, yeah, it's attached to a massive IP in the form of Elden Ring, but it's also only $40. Whereas Duskblood's, the ask is going to be, for a lot of people who are big into Soulsborne games, the ask is going to be to spend hundreds on a new console. Because like somebody else said, forgive me, I forgot who said it, but somebody in chat was just saying a few minutes ago that there's not many Souls-like games on Switch and on Nintendo, so a lot of them probably won't have the console to begin with. So even then, like the ask for Duskbloods might be $80, which is steep, but a lot of them don't have the console, so they'd have to buy the console already. Will Duskbloods make its way to other consoles at some point? Nobody knows, but if the answer is yes, they're not going to tell you that. They really don't want you to know, because the whole point of this deal, I can't even imagine how much money Nintendo gave them to make it exclusive, but it's because they want you to buy a Switch, you know? Even if it is coming to other consoles, they will never tell you until like, probably realistically, like 2 years. I think a good exclusivity window for a game like this is like 2 years. So realistically, no. Baleful Slaw, thank you for the membership. Glad to have you. Gavin, thank you for the 2. No crossplay is killer in 2025. Well, the thing is, like, you buy this game on... Like I said earlier, I think there's going to be a lot of people who buy this thinking it's an expansion. And I know for a lot of people who are in tune and have their pulse on, or their finger on the pulse of gaming, they're going to be like, no, of course, this is a PvE game. Like, this is a roguelike mode. Like, that's just not how this works. It's not just an expansion for Elden Ring. Thank you, Pecan Valley, for the membership, by the way. But a lot of more casual gamers, I think, are going to see this on the store page and just be like, oh, it's an expansion for Elden Ring. Let me try it. And the nice thing with Steam is that you can play it for 2 hours and then return it if you don't like it. And I do think a good number of people are going to buy this, boot into it, be thoroughly confused for a solid hour, and then just return it. So that day one peak, player peak, may not be that indicative. Because there's also a lot of people who didn't play the beta who are interested and will try it. And they might try it for an hour and a half and just be like, $40 is better spent elsewhere. I'm going to go elsewhere. So I don't know, man. It's a tough hill to climb. Hopefully their budgets were small enough that they can make a profit. The general consensus from you guys seems to be like 50 to 75 and then 75 to 100. That represents about 45% of the vote, is that it's somewhere between 50 and 100, which I think is a reasonable expectation. Reasonable. If it lands somewhere in the 70s, I think that would feel about right from what I expect. But it might surprise us. I mean, I kind of, my gut's telling me that it either pops off and is in the like 200K range and it's just huge in like, I don't know, maybe it's huge in China, huge in Japan, it's huge somewhere. Like it's huge in some community we're not in tune with. And it's just going to explode and be massive. Or it's going to significantly underperform where people are expecting it. It's going to have like, 9K and people are just like, But time will tell. Time will tell. We'll find out tomorrow afternoon. So buckle in, buckaroo, buckle in. We'll keep an eye on it. Speaking of keeping an eye on it, did you see this? HBO re-edited the poster. Dom the Bomb clipped this. The fact HBO removed the gun on the official that was in the official poster on the Blu-ray disc after season 1 was released. This is criminal. This was the original poster. Ellie holding the rifle. And then they literally photoshopped it out. Same picture, just photoshopped it so Ellie now has her arm on her backpack. They photoshopped it out. Why? Because she doesn't use the rifle in the show. I don't know if they just forgot to have her use the rifle, but she doesn't use the rifle. Like, I really think what happened with the Last of Us show for season 2 is they were worried if they had Ellie pop off the way she does in the game, that she wouldn't be likable or sympathetic. Radek posted this. Was it too much to ask for The Last of Us Season 2 to have one solo Ellie action scene with the same energy as this? And it shows just the sheer chaos that is The Last of Us Part 2, where Ellie is just a mass murdering psychopath. Like, you don't mess with Ellie Season 2 or Ellie Part 2, you know? You don't mess with Ellie in Part 2. She's crazy. And I think they realized how crazy she was, and they didn't think that the more casual audience would be willing to like give her or like root for her or give her the time of day. And so they cut pretty much all of this. Like another example is, you know, in the show, Ellie kind of has a mental breakdown after everything that happens with Nora in the hospital. And in the game, like, you are going through absolute hell to get to Nora. And there's a reason for a mental breakdown at the end of that. Makes sense. Let me see if I can find the clip. PS Vita girl. This sequence. Like, you remember how hardcore this is?
You know a girl named Nora?
Sure, yeah.
Where is she?
In the hospital.
Where in the hospital?
Yeah, they're clearing out the upper floors. She's somewhere in there.
Fuck. That was dumb.
How hardcore is it for that to happen? And then she just goes, that was dumb, and wipes off the knife and puts it in her pocket and moves on. Like, Ellie in the game, it's pretty clear, like, she is willing to do anything to get her revenge. And then in the show, it's just like way more goofy, more lighthearted, like things are not taken as seriously. And I think as a result, like, a lot of Ellie's actions, like the change to how Mel goes also, where it's just like, oh, she kind of a total accident or whatever. I just think so many of the changes lessen the impact of everything. And some people are like, they changed the writing to accommodate Bella Ramsey and the performance that Bella was giving. Others are saying, no, it was more of a Craig thing where Craig Mazin wanted to change it. I don't know who's to blame. What I do know is that the episodes that Neil Druckmann directed and wrote were the best episodes in the season. Love it or hate it, it's also backed up in the reviews. Like, those were the best episodes of the season. This episodes where he had other people write or direct started to fall off pretty significantly. Might have just been direction, might have been a coincidence, whatever. But the whole thing has just, it's been really impressive to see how they managed to kind of screw it up. You know, and it's really disappointing. I mean, it really is, because season 1 I thought was really good. And I'm starting to realize now, I think a lot of that heavy lifting came from Pedro Pascal. And once he was kind of out of the way, he didn't have, you know, he wasn't able to carry the show anymore. And so things just didn't work as well. And I don't know. Bella's a very talented performer, but I don't think Bella has the gravitas to carry the show and everything the same way that Ashley Johnson did in the game. And I'm sorry, this is the other piece. I think it's such a cataclysmically stupid mistake to separate off Abby's story as a separate season. After season 2, there's going to be a lot of people who were like, I didn't really like it as much. Season 2, not as good as season 1. And once season 3 happens in a year or a year and a half, 2 years, whatever it is, a lot of them are not going to come back. And if they do, they're going to come back and be watching a show from Abby's perspective and just be like, yeah, I mainly liked Pedro, so I'm good. And a lot of people are going to fall off. A lot of people fell off in the video game. They stopped playing once they got to the Abby sections because like they didn't need it. They were good. They were like, I know what you're doing. I know you're trying to manipulate me. See how everything is just, everybody's wrong. Everything sucks. I know what you're doing. I'm not interested. And they just gave it up. I had buddies from college that gave it up once they were forced to start playing as Abby. And that was in a single game where like that scene takes place the moment after the previous one where you're controlling Ellie. Imagine if you asked them to wait a year and a half. They almost definitely are not coming back. So I just think, you know, that was a major blunder. Major blunder. And I think we'll see it once, you know, season 3 launches. And it's not to say, and it's Caitlin Dever is the actress. It's not to say she's not amazingly talented. I'm sure she is. But I just think in terms of structuring the show, it was a massive blunder to separate by a season. I think they should have extended it, made the season way bigger, go for 14 episode seasons, even if it gave HBO a heart attack, and just do it that way. I cannot fathom why they thought this was a good idea, other than they're just trying to stretch it. To be fair, though, Caitlin Dever is going to carry it. She's such a good actress. I mean, maybe this is all part of a broader, big brain 4D chess thing to just be like, oh, people don't like Bella Ramsey as Ellie. Well, now people are going to be rooting for Caitlin Dever. They're going to be rooting for Abby. Problem solved. And they just flip it. Maybe that's part of the grand plan. I don't know. Sadly, I think Caitlin will carry season 3 better than Bella did in season 2. It's very likely, but I think still broadly the themes and the story is going to have an impact. We looked at it on stream, some of the clips from people who had never played the games, like a lot of teenagers and college students were filming their parents and like their mom watching The Last of Us show for the first time and watching episode 1, 2, and 3 of season 2. And they just are like, wait, what? I don't want to watch this anymore. Like just immediately hands in the air. I'm not interested. And I think that that's only going to continue once they try to force people to watch, you know, from Ellie's or from Abby's perspective. So I just think, I don't know. I think the structuring was at the end of the day was one of the major problems with The Last of Us Part 2 in game form. And I think that the way they've set up the show is even worse. Personally, I think it's even worse. I think there were ways to structure it where it made more sense, but I don't think they should have stretched it out like this. And now Craig Mazin is like, yeah, I think we really need a 4th season. I'm sure it has nothing to do with the fact that he gets paid almost certainly per episode. So I'm sure it has nothing to do with that. But if they stretch this to 4 seasons and it's like 3 of them are the second game, what are we doing? Like, it's just such a waste, and it's going to just cause people to fall off. They somehow made the pacing issues worse. Well, it's weird. Like the second season feels both way too long and way too short. Like they spend time on a lot of stupid stuff that doesn't feel consequential, and then they spend less time on the important stuff. So it feels too long and too short at the same time, and it just like I just don't know what they were doing. The whole thing was a bit of a mess. Bit of a mess, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know, man. It's too bad because again, I love the show, season 1, but they really blew it, in my opinion. In my opinion.
I played The Last of Us 2 before 1. I was just playing Xbox, bought a PlayStation, and The Last of Us 2 was my first game. Yeah, again, like a lot of the parts of The Last of Us Part 2 are really, really impressive. I think a lot of it technologically is a masterpiece. It's absolutely insane how good the game looks and runs even to this day. I mean, this is a game from 5 years ago running on 2013. This technically is PS5 hardware, but it was developed for 2013 hardware for the base PS4. And if this launched today, people would still say it's probably one of the best looking games of the year. Jeez. Lined them up, took them out. The gore system being fully dynamic, like everything about this technically is wildly impressive. Really solid stealth, really, really good AI. Very, very impressive. The problems with the structure, the writing, and I think the broader themes, I just don't think worked as well as they thought they would. But yeah, The Last of Us Part 2, very, very impressive game in many, many ways. Anybody who's like, no, it sucks across the board, like they're probably trolling you. Let's be real. Because I don't know how you look at this and are like, not like, okay, that's crazy. Because there's seriously so many parts where it's just like, how did you even do this? It's insane. Spec Ops saying 28 months, Jesus. And here we are, sir, 28 months. Hope all is well. Haven't even tried watching The Last of Us. Reacher or Moblin is more my style. Yeah, I mean, it's at this point, you're not missing a whole lot. I'm excited for more Severance. I'm excited for that. That's going to be good. Watch the first episode of Andor. Need to get back and watch the second one. Keep going through that because people talk up Andor a lot. People say that's really, really good. So I need to keep going through that. People have said Succession's really good. There's a lot. There's a lot out there. Reacher. Yeah, I've heard Reacher's good. Andor's Peak, keep watching it. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. It's tough going from Severance, which is structured in such a like Lost-esque way. It's tough going from that to a more slow-paced show that's very methodically just like, here's this episode, here's this. Everything in Severance is like one crazy cliffhanger into another. And so it can be a little tough to go back to a normal show that's not doing that. But dude, imagine if we had something on this level in the show. I'm just saying, it's just so intense and so cutthroat and violent and chaotic. But it's like all of a sudden Naughty Dog got weird about violence, or Neil or Craig got weird about violence. Like, no, we don't want Bella to kill too many people. It's like, that's the whole point of the game, dude. It's kind of the point of the story, is that she loses herself completely to her violent, urges for revenge. That's the point. And you're just like, no, we're worried if we let her kill too many people that people won't like her as much. That's the point. It's just, man, she can't be violent now. Look, she's a dad. Dude, somebody got like actually low-key triggered about that post. It was really stupid. Because I like tweeted out just kind of how I felt it was off. And I said, well, at least we got some cursed memes out of it. And I mean, these are all fantastic. These are all great. Okay. And somebody like replied to it and was like, what did they say? The memes would have been better if she were not relentlessly bullied on this app. Okay, whatever. I don't really see this a meme. After everything Bella got, do you? Not really a good move. I don't really know what that means, but I think they're upset about
Kane donated
the memes.
$10 through Super Chat. Sup, Luke? It's
Sup?
your boy, Kanye, or Kane Lol.
Sup?
Did you watch the show Chernobyl? If so, how the heck did the director of Last of Us go from that to this confused face?
I've not watched. I mean, I've seen like the clips and stuff because there's many that have gone viral for being so good. But I honestly don't know. I think adaptations of established stuff are just tough. When you're telling a historical story, it's perhaps easier
to create a story around that with the characters that have been set up, because it's nonfiction, it's real. But I think once somebody like that gets their hands on a fictional story and they start messing with that, they feel like they can take a lot more liberties. But it's also just, people are very, very familiar with The Last of Us. And so I think messing with that story that already was very shaky and I think needed a lot of work, I think was just slippery. You need to watch it. Yeah, I do want to watch Chernobyl. I've heard nothing but great things about it. The tough thing is just, it is the polar opposite of the kind of show Nikki will watch. She has like full on ADHD. So I'd have to watch it myself, like privately. And it's finding time for that. Maybe on my next flight, I'll start it. Because it's not crazy. It's not a massive series, right? Watch it twice. It's so good. Yeah, I should do it. I should do it. But yeah, there were some people that got pissy over the memes. And my perspective is, you're a multi-millionaire performer in TV shows on HBO and stuff. You have fans around the world. You are set for life. I think you can handle people photoshopping your face onto Forrest Gump, Leo Montoya, Michael Scott. I forgot his name, from King. What's it called? My dad watched the show all of the time. Do you remember? Kevin James. Yeah. What was the show called though? It was like King of Queens. King of Queens. Paul Blart. How dare you? He was in that. That was later. Yeah. But like, I don't understand why people are like, Bella's in a show, so you can't Photoshop Bella's face onto Batman. Like, yes, I can. I didn't even have to do it. People online did, and they did a really, really good job. These are very funny. You know? These are very good. If you can't handle this, if this is crossing the line, there shouldn't be a line. Like, what are we talking about, dude? They're like, that's really not cool. Yeah, you're right. It's not cool. It's freaking hilarious. Okay. Okay. You ruin a TV show that was previously good. I get to make fun of you by saying, I'm going to be a dad. Okay. It's only fair. Okay. This is not that big of a deal. Okay. It's a funny picture with your face on it. Okay. It really is not that big of a deal. I don't understand how people all of a sudden cannot just laugh it off. It's wild. Oh. Okay. Oh yeah, look at this. Look at this. PlayStation has put out new ads, including Play the Unmissable, that features Marathon, and it still mentions the September 23rd date. I mean, if they don't delay it, it would be, I seriously don't know what the hell they're doing. If they don't delay it, I really think it's likely that they are just trying to get rid of Bungie leadership. At that point, I'm like, they're sending it out to DICE so they can clean house. They're full sending it. I mean, what else can you take away? Everybody agrees it's not ready. So if they're still putting it out there, they have to know it's not ready. So what do you conclude from that? It's not ready. We know it's not. Here you go. They're putting it out when it's not ready because they are aware it's going to fail. And they don't care. And at that point, you got to pause and be like, why don't they care? What are they getting out of it? Because no company does anything unless they get something out of it. And I think it gives them finally the excuse legally to clean house totally. Why not just cancel it? I think, again, there's 4D chess happening here. The company knows when they clean house with Bungie executives, there's going to be lawsuits for wrongful termination. And I think that Sony's getting ahead of that by being like, no, this product, we've given you 5 to 6 years to develop. The release date's on the 23rd. It's not our fault you idiots stole a bunch of art. It's not our fault it's not ready and you had to reboot it a few times. It's not our fault. We gave you the resources. We told you the launch date. Now you're going to hit it. And it's going to launch. And if it does really poorly and massively misses the financial targets, then they can fire those executives, get rid of them, not have to pay them out their stock incentives and stuff. And when those executives try to sue Sony, Sony can go, no, look, they screwed up. This is their fault. And they won't be wrong. Now, is it possible that Sony could save it by delaying it, working on it for another year and a half? It's a possibility. I don't think it's likely, but it's possible. But I think Sony at this point just needs to cut losses and, you know, even if it's a ploy to clear management, hopefully Sony lets the devs build the game they imagined. Yeah, well, and that's the big thing is I think eventually Marathon can get to the point where it's a really solid game with a lot of content that's engaging and interesting. But that I just think is going to take a year and a half, 2 years. And the question is just whether they're allowed to do that after the game launches to not great player numbers. And that I genuinely don't know. Some people have been like, oh, they're gonna just shut the whole studio down. I don't think that's likely. I don't think that they just close Bungie, but I do think they clean house, bring in their own managers, restructure, lay off. I think they do all sorts of stuff to reformat it into their own likeness. You know, I think they do that, but yeah, the whole thing, man, it's just a disaster. Chaucer, thank you for the 5. Starting to believe your theory. Sony is killing it with profit. What's another failed canceled game for PlayStation? They just Bungie talent is left. I'm trying to piece that together. I mean, what's really freaking insane is that if they were to, like say next week, if they were to cancel Marathon, that would be the second massive live service game that cost hundreds of millions of dollars that they canceled within 12 months, because Marathon was canceled and shut down in August. So talk about a rough year. Like, it's unbelievable. Back to back, dude. It's unreal. Bungie leadership has been an issue for a decade now. Can't blame Sony. Well, the problem is that guess who bought Bungie knowing the leadership? Sony. So at some point, you know, the blame is also on them. Everybody agrees, all financial analysts, everybody that looks at the company from a business side of things, they all agree the $3.7 billion price tag for Bungie was asinine. It's unreal that anybody thought that was a good idea. Like, nobody thought the company was worth that. I don't think Bungie execs even thought it was worth that. I really don't. The example I've given previously was, you know, when like the kid goes up to the old man's door and knocks on it. It's like, hey, mister, I'd like to shovel your driveway of all the snow. And the kid is thinking, I'm going to do it for $5 because I just want to go to the store and get a pack of Skittles. The kid's willing to do it for $5, but the old man is like, good being resourceful, son. Bet you want money for that work. Sure do, mister. Okay, I'll give you $15,000. And the kid's just, okay. And then he does it. Probably doesn't even do that good of a job because he's a kid. And then gets paid $15,000. That is like exactly what's happened with Bungie, is that Sony threw money at them to make this thing that they probably weren't even that confident in. And it's like, oh, well, okay. Why would Bungie turn down $3.7 billion? Of course they're going to be like, sure, we'll take that. Whatever, sure. It's on Sony that they overpaid by that much. Especially because all of the reporting at the time was that Bungie was in dire financial straits and they needed help to bail out of their rough financial situation. So Sony was in the power position. They could have pushed them to get a better deal, but they didn't. You know?
Jason Enkuleft donated 10 euros through Super Chat.
Thank you.
Bungie and Marathon are beyond rescue at this point. Either they delay and start behind the competition, or they release now before the competition runs them over. The market is just too small.
I agree the market's really small. I think Arc Raiders is in a much, much better position right now compared to where Marathon is. And certainly the sentiment is way better for Arc Raiders. I mean, the meme for Marathon right now is Art Raiders. The whole meme is making fun of the game by referring to the other game they like more. So already you're starting at a huge disadvantage compared to even Arc Raiders. And that has none of the negativity surrounding it. So I just think like they either delay it to late 2026, early 2027, and just try to get to the point where people are like, they kind of forgotten about all of this, which does happen. I mean, the internet remembers it forever, but people within the internet seemingly have a very short attention span and they just move on to the next thing. So they could probably delay it by a year and a half, 2 years, and then just add a ton of content, a ton of features, a ton of stuff, and come back swinging and try again, which honestly I think is the only way this could even potentially work. I don't think releasing in 2025, I cannot imagine a situation where that turns out well. And I don't think they can either, but the decision's coming from on high. This is not a Bungie choice at the end of the day. If it were up to Bungie, they would delay the game indefinitely until the executives get their stock options paid out, and then they all retire. They don't really care. It comes from Sony. And if Sony doesn't want to give them another 2 years, which fair, there's just not much they can do. You know? Let's see. Small Time. Thank you for that one. As a producer at one of the most evil gaming corps, I enjoy your takes on games. Curious, what's your view on the current definition of early access and how it serves devs, good or bad? I mean, it's pretty clearly shown to be a very powerful tool, Small Time, and I appreciate that super chat, by the way. It's been a very powerful tool, and I think the champion of early access recently has been Baldur's Gate 3, because you can get a ton of feedback early on and work on it. Just the other day, Tainted Grail Fall of Avalon, that's also another early access game that took a lot of feedback from players during early access. So it's a very powerful and useful tool. But it can also be used to put out like stuff that is not ready and that gets abandoned. The most heartbreaking being like Kerbal Space Program 2, which was, I mean, they literally abandoned it. They worked on it for like a few months and then walked away, and now they still sell the game, but it's broken and they have no plans to fix it because the studio's gone. Oops. So it's something people should be very aware of. My general approach is I don't really engage with early access games until 1.0. I understand there's some people that love the idea of being part of the game early and working with them and providing feedback, and I'm glad there's players like that. But there's also, I think, a lot of players like me who are like, call me when it's done, But it can clearly work really well in some cases, but in other cases it can really not work well at all, Yeah. Is the hype about Arc Raiders because streamers said it was good while their streams were sponsored by Embark, so they had to say it was good? I mean, I'm sure they sponsored streamers. I mean, most games do, but you're even seeing now, after sponsorships have ended, people still being really into it. And it's not just about what streamers think, it's also about what the broader community thinks. And the sentiment is night and day. I mean, you can really see it's night and day between the community for Arc Raiders, which is popping off. People are super excited. Even like YouTube videos and content around Arc Raiders is doing really well. Whereas you're hard pressed to find a single positive video about Marathon. Like, you can try finding it. It's going to be tough to find because A lot of people are skeptical. And again, it's so unfortunate because so many of the problems with Marathon are not because of Marathon's devs. It's because of leadership. It's because of crappy, broader decisions by higher ups. And that's what just really sucks at the end of the day is it's not the executives who make the bad decisions that suffer when things go sour. They just, retire, they move on, whatever. It's the lower level workers that get laid off, that get everything screwed up because they did their job, but the executives screwed everything up. It's just too bad. Thank you for the 5. Have you said your daily prayer to Todd Father? Praise be. It really bothers me when you forget. Well, I don't forget. I'm more of a private practitioner. Usually I say my prayers in the shower. It's where I feel more connected to him. To the Todd Father. But you're right. We should light the candle out of respect. May Todd be with you, my friends. May Todd be with you. Okay. Let's see. Did I read that one? Have you seen the clip of Craig Mazin talking about critics? Oh, no, I haven't. I bet that's a cringe fest, Mr. Mo. Let's see. Glorified Soul, thank you for the 5. Do you think they made the acquisition because of the moves Microsoft and Xbox were making at the time with Bethesda and Activision? There were rumors that Microsoft, and maybe they've been confirmed, but I remember rumors and speculation that Microsoft was also bidding on Bungie at the time and basically wanted to buy them back. And, who knows if that actually happened or not, or if that's just something that Bungie execs were telling PlayStation so they could kind of negotiate a higher price. Who knows? Who knows what the truth is? But I do think there were moves being made elsewhere in the industry, and that inspired Sony to be more aggressive than they otherwise would be. And you can see that, Jim Ryan was going balls to the walls with live service stuff. That was the whole vision for PlayStation, was we're going to be a massively successful live service publisher as well as doing all the single player stuff. So he made all of his biggest studios work on live service games. He made all of the secondary support studios work on them, like Blue Point and Sony Bend. They even started working on their own live service games. Sony Bend was working on a live service thing, and Blue Point was working on a God of War live service spin-off game, whatever that would have looked like. And so all of their chips were going on black. They were going all in. And then they bought Bungie to kind of supervise it. They're like, Bungie, they made Destiny and Halo. They know what they're doing. We'll get them, and then they will help guide us in the right direction, which initially sounds good. That kind of makes sense why they would think that. Doesn't make sense at $3.7 billion, but maybe that's why they could justify it, because they felt that the $3.7 billion was not buying the company. It was buying the expertise. It was buying the know-how. And I'm sure they said in their offices and in the boardroom, they're like, well, it's expensive, but if this $3.7 billion acquisition means that we can get, the expertise to make one successful game on the level of a Fortnite or another, maybe like a Rainbow Six or something, or a Tarkov, we make one of those, just paid for Bungie. Boom. It's a real dangerous way to do it. It's literally gambling. It's the same mindset. It's, hey, we'll put all of these chips out, and if we roll out and we get, a 32 black or a 7 red, I don't know how roulette works, but whatever it is, then it'll pay for everything and we'll be fine. But the house always wins. The odds of you winning are not that high when you're just gambling. So see how well that goes for you. In a way, they got what they deserved, I think. Okay. Should we talk about this now? The Luca Phoenix, thank you also for the sub over on Twitch, and Prodigy Coffee, thank you for the resub over on Twitch as well, my friend. Sorry I got distracted, started rambling. Do you think studios will make small scale games due to Expedition 33's success? Not just because of that. I mean, I think that helps a lot, but I do think the scope for a lot of these games is going to be tighter in scale. There's the rumored God of War spin-off game coming later this year, which might be the big surprise announcement in early June from PlayStation, where it's like a kind of a backstory for Kratos. We'll see if that actually happens or not, but that's been rumored for a while. And if that happens, you know, that's probably going to be like a Miles Morales Lost Legacy style game with like 15 hours or something. And that could work. You know, that could make perfect sense. So I do think there's going to be more of those. I think there's going to be more like $50 games that are 10 to 15 hours long. And I'm okay with that, frankly. I'm okay with that. Yeah, of course, that game is being developed by the brand new cutting edge studio that's amazingly not many people have heard of. It's too bad because it's a very accomplished studio. I mean, they really have a lot of talent. Naughty Monica, I don't know if you've heard of them, but they're up and coming. And yeah, they're doing the new God of War game, so that'll be cool to see. Can't wait. Can't wait. Okay, should we talk about this? Let's see. Did I catch up there? Luke, you teach finance at all? Not really, no. I ramble about it. Yeah, I ramble about it. Is Corey in chat today? You'll never know. Unless he chooses to make himself known. I imagine he just kind of chills and then pops in when it's comedically appropriate. But you know what's also happened the last like 2 hours is CD Projekt Run's Q1 earnings. This is one of the things I always enjoy checking out and looking at, is they do these updates every quarter, and they actually give you a lot more information than a lot of other companies. Like Ubisoft might occasionally be like, oh, we're working on 3 new experiences that you should be excited for, and there's not really much to go on. It's just kind of like, okay, you can kind of try to connect the dots, but there's not a whole lot of detail. But in this one from CDPR, they actually get a little bit more specific, so I can appreciate that. So let's look at it. News time. Okay. CD Projekt Red Group Q1 2025 earnings. It's happened, my friends. It's happened. The quarter ended. The executive leadership over at CDPR shared their earnings call, or they shared their earnings and talked about their broader company strategies. They shared some promotional stuff, updated us on dev times and progress on recent projects, all sorts of interesting stuff, which I'm going to share with you today because this happened like an hour ago, which is always fun to see. This one of the reasons I also like these from CDPR is because a lot of other companies, like you listen to an earnings call from EA or Take-Two Interactive, and it's like pulling teeth sometimes. It's like, we're really excited to announce that our EBITDA is going up by 2.5% quarterly, and year over year, our attach rate on mobile game spending has gone up by 7%. Like, it's so boring. It's so boring. But with the CDPR ones, not only do they invest in high quality graphics, which I appreciate, but also because they share some fun little tidbits that we can look at and run with and infer a bunch of stuff from, as you will see. So first things first, they of course have to shout out the Switch 2 port of Cyberpunk 2077 coming on launch day, June 5th. Apparently this isn't even that profitable on the physical copy side because the cards that the game has to go on are so expensive. It's actually very, very little profit margin for the physical copies of the game, despite, you know, being so expensive to begin with. But if you buy digitally, I'm sure they're making a hefty profit. I've not seen this myself, the port in like person. I've not ever held a Switch 2, and I don't plan on owning one anytime soon. I'm not buying one at launch. So I'm not super sure how well it runs, but what I have heard from people who have seen it, like we talked to Jor got his hands on one at a preview thing for Nintendo, and he said it actually is a very, very impressive port. It runs shockingly well and looks very, very good as well. So make of that what you will. It seems to be a decent port. They also announced Phantom Liberty. The expansion for Cyberpunk has hit 10 million copies sold as of May 28th, 2025. That's crazy. 10 million copies for an expansion. And that is after Cyberpunk 2077. I think it's done, 30 million? So a 33% attach rate on a big expansion like that, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's pretty damn good. And I'm glad to see it because Phantom Liberty is the expansion that, for me, like, gave me confidence in The Witcher 4. Like, prior to that, I wasn't really sure. I wasn't really sure what they were going to do. It was like, maybe it ends up being amazing. Maybe it ends up being a broken mess like Cyberpunk 2077 again. Like, who knows? But seeing Phantom Liberty be so good, so ambitious, so cinematic and everything, it really gave me confidence that they could pull it off again with The Witcher 4. So if you've not played Phantom Liberty, you should. They also announced that Cyberpunk 2, whatever they end up calling it, right now they're just calling it 2, has entered the pre-production phase. So it's out of the concept phase and it's entering pre-production. Now, pre-production is kind of a broad term in game design. It can mean a lot. It honestly kind of, from what I've seen talking to devs, it depends a lot on company internal definitions of pre-production, because some companies, they refer to pre-production as like, oh, we do a lot of the script writing. We might do some explorative things with like gameplay systems, but we're not doing like anything really active. We're keeping it very, very broad, just running ideas around, which other companies, they define that as like the ideation phase or the exploration phase. So who knows exactly what this is. But it does mean things are moving forward at a steady pace. Most likely, I believe in that GDC talk about Phantom Liberty, they described pre-production, and this is when they're doing a lot of the gameplay systems building. They're doing a lot of the systems building. They're doing a lot of things like building basically all the tools that then level designers, quest designers can then use to plop things in the world. They build assets during this time. They do storyboarding. They do a lot of like the broader narrative. They might not be writing like NPC dialogue for when you're walking around the city, but they're coming up with the story. They're setting all of that up, figuring out where you're going to go, what the big set pieces are, all of that. It's basically when you are outlining the book before you go and fill out the outline with all the broader stuff. So at the end of the pre-production phase, you should know what game you're making, basically. They also, celebrated 10 years of The Witcher 3, which is amazing. And they also announced they have hit 60 million copies sold. That's insane. That's straight up silly. 60 million copies sold. Tell you what, it's well deserved. Well deserved. This also, as you can see here, base game and game of the year version, not including expansions, sold separately. Golly. These ain't no Nvidia numbers where they don't mean anything. 60 million actual copies sold. That's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. They announced 2.4 billion revenue. They also, this is the chart that's most exciting and interesting to me though. Development teams engaged in ongoing projects. Okay. So they update this every quarter. They showcase it. We looked at this chart back in February when they dropped it. Back February 28th, they had 411 people working on The Witcher 4. They had 84 people working on the next Cyberpunk game. Okay. They had 49 people working on Project Sirius. Project Hadar went from 17. It's now up to 19. Shared services which they actually have an asterisk on it. It's localization, quality assurance, data, insights and experiences, and AI. Okay. And then that went up by 6 people. And then you can see other projects with 2 asterisks. What does this mean? Including unannounced projects developed internally or by third parties. The number of third-party developers included or involved is not included in this count. Ooh. Other unannounced projects. Okay. Insights and experience. I'm guessing a lot of this. So they have development teams listed. And so I see you asking about GOG and that. I believe they separate that out as a separate team. They don't consider that necessarily developers. It's like a separate part of the company. I believe they might be including like experiences, insights and experiences as part of that. But I don't know. I would guess it's a separate thing. But they are saying they've gone up 23 new roles. They've gone up to 730 devs. 400 are working on The Witcher 4, though. And they are steadily increasing the number of people working on the next Cyberpunk game as well. And again, this does not include people working on outside projects, such as the remake of The Witcher 1, which is being headed up by the team that did the Thaumaturge. And so that's not, I don't believe, included in these numbers either. As for financial results, again, this is all in their local currency, PLN. The conversion rate, it's PLN to USD. 1 zvolte, I believe is how you pronounce it, is roughly a quarter. It's 27 cents. So yeah, you know, it's, you just cut all this down to a quarter and you can translate it. But in terms of broader trends and strokes, the takeaway is that CDPR, for having not released anything the last few years, is actually doing quite well. It's actually doing quite well. They actually last year, I think, had the best year they've ever had for not releasing a major product during that time, which is good. That's what you would hope to hear. And it shows that they are continuing to bring in money from The Witcher, from Cyberpunk, and all of these. It's also, this is one thing I think people can often forget, is that these games are not, like, we play them because we're hardcore gamers, dab on the haters. Like, we play games a lot. We're very involved. But a lot of people, they jump into these games a year, 2 years, 3 years after launch. And so it's like, just because we played it at launch, we thought about it a lot at that time, and then we moved on, that doesn't mean that those games stop generating revenue. Games like The Witcher 3, Cyberpunk, The Witcher 2, Witcher 1, all those expansions, they continue generating crazy amounts of money all, like, you know, years and years later. It really does. Cyberpunk 2077 and the expansion in Q1 of 2025 generated 143,000, or in this case, thousand, so 143 million Polish zloty, which translates to, you know, tens of millions of dollars US, 30, 40 million or whatever. Still generating crazy money. Witcher 3 and all of its stuff, less so, but it's also because it's a much older game on steep discounts. And this is why, you know, companies, again, people will be like, how do big companies like a Ubisoft have 20,000 employees? It's because, again, like, those games continue to sell like gangbusters years and years and years after launch. People still go back. I mean, still, GTA 5 is still at the top of these charts years later. It's still always like in the top 10 most sold games of every month on Steam. Like, it's insane, but that's just because these games have legs, as it's called. You can see they mention GOG stats, and they announce year-over-year changes from quarter to quarter. And overall, the company's really, really healthy. You can see net profitability. Oh, baby. Oh, look at those margins. Oh, baby. As for deferred taxable assets, property, plant, equipment, investment, properties, and stuff, they continue to invest significantly in future
projects and things. They've continued new development amortization during these, so they're financing a good amount of stuff. But overall, I mean, they're very capably run. Research, development, product maintenance costs. So development expenditures, new products, assets capitalized. So the blue section is what they're spending on development. Green is research. Yellow is maintenance on things that have already released. So that might be, you know, patches, updates, things like that. But you can see it's just, they're steadily turning the dial up, spending more and more and more, going deeper and deeper. And this is going to continue going up pretty much right before The Witcher 4. And then it's going to get dialed up even more probably as they continue to grow into the next Cyberpunk game. Changes in cash deposits and bonds. Bonds are something companies use to raise money from investors, like corporate bonds and stuff. It's a pretty standard way of doing it, in addition to like stock issuances and things like that. Cash deposits, all self-explanatory. Board recommendation concerning dividend payouts. Dividends are one of the ways you can signal to investors that you're doing well. It's one of the ways that they do that is just to be like, yeah, we have so much extra money, we're making so much money that we can give it back to you, we can give it to investors. And there's some companies that make really, you know, are really generous, like Coca-Cola. I think they pay out like a solid, yeah, every quarter they pay out like 50 cents per share. It's not like insane for the yield that you're actually getting out of it, but they do quite well. You know, it's not always just about the stock price going up, it's also about the dividend that you're receiving on the back end. But dividends are like a common way of just signaling confidence in your product that, hey, we're going to keep doing well no matter what. And they are recommending a dividend payout of 1 Polish zloty per share, which is actually not bad. Not bad. So they're doing well. They're very excited about all of this. They're putting a lot of eggs in the basket of The Witcher and Cyberpunk, as they should. The results kind of speak for themselves in terms of the revenue that's being generated even now, years after the fact. But yeah, they're working their butts off. They're working their butts off. Realistically, I think we see The Witcher 3 or Witcher 4 still probably like 2027. That's my guess. I think the odds are pretty high. It launches damn close to Elder Scrolls 6. I think they're lining up to launch right around the same time. And after that, you know, the sequel to Cyberpunk, they are saying that they are making progress and their hope is to release much closer together. We'll see. We'll see. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that looks like. I mean, if that means that they can get it out 2029, 2030, that'd be great. But, you know, time will tell. Time will tell. Do you think we see multiplayer with Cyberpunk 2 like one was supposed to have? I have a feeling. Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of stuff like that. I have a feeling Cyberpunk's sequel will basically be everything that they initially promised and wanted to do, and they're just going to make sure to get it right this time because they fixed a lot of their structural issues, allegedly. So we'll see. We'll see. But it's looking good. The company's healthy. The company is showing all the right signs. It's what you want to see. So yeah, everything's good. Let's see. Oh yeah, look at this. Jeff updated this. News segment. Jeff Keighley, he sent this out, only round 1. So there's allegedly going to be even more that he announces, potentially. But this is specifically 60 partners for Summer Games Fest. So this is like partners that are probably going to be showing stuff either during the pre-show or during the main show for Summer Games Fest. You see like the big ones, you know, you got Epic Games, you got 2K, and this makes sense because like
2K, they've got Mafia coming out, Borderlands, that makes sense that they're going to be there. Amazon Games, they just have more money than God to spend on stuff, so they're going to be there. CDPR, I know people are getting excited about this. People are like, oh, they're going to showcase The Witcher 4 or something. I don't think so. I think that they are going there to have like a trailer for Cyberpunk on the Switch 2. I think that really is all it's going to be. Okay. Realistically, let's be honest. As for others, Moonfish, NeoWiz, they also have a DLC expansion coming to Lies of P, so that makes sense. Nexon, Techland, yeah, they're relaunching some stuff. Supermassive Games, they have Little Nightmares 3 coming. Coffee Stain, Devolver Digital. Let's see, Bandai Namco, probably with Nightreign stuff. Maybe not actually. Maybe not Nightreign, because that's going to be a good bit before. So I don't know. IOI, that might be for Mind's Eye and some other stuff that they have. Sega is going to be there. Razer, you know, a decent number. There's no names here that really like shock me or blow me away. Square Enix is going to be there. That could be interesting. It would be funny if he did the same thing he did. Was it the Game Awards or was it Summer Games Fest? Do you remember when he was like, the rumors were true? And everyone's like, oh my God, it's Bloodborne or it's something crazy like that. And it just ended up being Final Fantasy Rebirth or whatever. I was like, oh, like, cool. Glad to see it, but okay. One that does get me excited, Pearl Abyss. Pearl Abyss. You know what they're doing? They're the ones behind Crimson Desert. So if they're going to be there, maybe a new trailer, maybe an official launch date reveal. You never know. That could be cool. That could be cool. Playside, of course, like the other one that could be big, could be not big. PlayStation, of course, is listed here. PlayStation could be coming just to do like a trailer for the $50 discount coupon on the PlayStation 5 Pro. Like they could be coming to do something as kind of underwhelming as basically a commercial, or they could be coming because they're going to be like, yeah, a new story trailer for Ghost of Yotei. I mean, it's possible. You never know. But this could be big, or it could be like absolutely nothing. Same with the Xbox being there. It could be that they're putting the logo there because they're going to have a trailer for discounted controllers. Or it could mean that they're going to show Fable gameplay in addition to, you know, some of the other stuff that they've done. So who knows? Who knows? That's the tricky thing with this, is that you just don't know what you don't know. It could be they're going to showcase something insane, or it could be that they're basically going to show a commercial. We just don't know. Embark, of course, Embark did the finals, but more pertinent to recent conversations, Embark are the guys behind Arc Raiders, the main competitor to Marathon. And there's been a lot of speculation, a lot of rumors that Embark is actually going to be shadow dropping Arc Raiders during like the show. So they're going to announce it, like show a trailer for Arc Raiders and be like, yep, available now. Which would be crazy. Can you imagine? I mean, I think that'd be a cool mic drop moment if they end up actually doing it. It'd be really, really cool. It's not impossible. It's not impossible. You can get tickets as well to the actual show. That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. Do they have any other stuff on the website? I wonder. June 6th. Just 9 days away, fam. 9 days away. Oh, yeah, when Nicolas Cage was there. Kind of out of nowhere. Very confusing. Yeah, and then the Xbox showcase is on June 8th. So Xbox being there, it might just be like, oh, Xbox is there, and it's a trailer for their show. And it's like, ooh, here's a little bitty 30-second trailer for The Outer Worlds 2 or for the next Call of Duty or something. And it says, find out more on the 8th at the Xbox show. They've done that before. It's possible. Stein, the senior social media manager at Xbox, also, googly eyes, maybe something big, You never know. Maybe they announce the handheld here and then they showcase games running on the handheld at the Xbox show. You never know. You never know. Where is Ubisoft? Yeah, that is interesting. They are not shown. In this, at least. Now, it's possible they are in round 2. It's possible that there's some surprises, you know? Because one of the things that's also been confirmed is that Hideo Kojima will be at Summer Games Fest. And he, or his company, is not listed here that I'm seeing. So he's one of them that's going to be here, and he's not on the page. So he could be in the second round, and maybe Ubisoft is too if they have something big to reveal. Personally, I would be surprised if Ubisoft is there at all, if they show anything. It doesn't seem like they're doing Ubisoft Forward at all. It doesn't seem like they have much to show. And as I've said to you guys 1,000 times, I think the best thing for them to do is to shadow drop the Black Flag remake in like November or something. Shadow drop it out of nowhere, get people excited, get them to buy it that way. Do it that way. I think that's the best way to do it. They could do a big marketing cycle, and the preview events are cool to be able to make videos before it comes out, but I'm telling them if they want the best outcome, shadow drop it. Shadow drop it. Shadow drop it tomorrow. Shadow drop it in 3 months. I don't care. Do something crazy. Will I be streaming it? I will not be streaming it because I will be there. So I will make videos about it after the fact, but I will be at Summer Games Fest. So I will not be able... I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to be that guy. Because you guys remember the story I told from last year when I sat in the... audience, and then there was a guy sitting in front of me, and he was wearing headphones that had like cat ears, and the whole show he's like filming himself and kept going like, oh my god, what a crazy announcement, guys, whoa, stops recording. And then he had his phone out, and I remember he was scrolling through and watching through the speakers, even though he's wearing headphones, he's like scrolling through videos of himself on his Instagram. It's so stupid. Oh God, babe. Babe. Wow. Oh, show everybody your shirt. For those who come after. Yeah, a woman. Now that's a handsome woman. Yeah, she's wearing the Expedition 33 shirt. I got her. Yeah. How are you? How are the kids? Thank you for the coffee and the donut.
The kids are being the kids.
Yeah. Lockie was very tired this
We had
morning.
a really fun morning at an indoor playground, and then the whole ride home, Ori just...
Yeah, he's practicing his diaphragm control because he wants to be an opera singer, so he scream sings. That's a real donut. Yeah, there's like a food truck place that does donuts near us, and they show up every once in a while.
Like, every once in a while, and when I drove by today, they were here, so I had to stop.
Yeah, and
for
it's
my
good
baby.
donuts. It's like baked donut. It's so good. So should I be having a donut? No. Do I want one? And am I going to eat it? Yes.
And then this is dairy free, so it's macadamia nut.
Oh, sweet. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Can I get you a blended drink? I'm like, a donut and a blended drink?
Oh, this is perfect.
Crazy.
My babe provides for me
With your own money.
with my money. Thank you. Love you. Jimbo, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Oh,
Jimbo 404
Mo sent it
donated
too.
$10 through Super Chat. Do you think with their recent partnership with Steam that maybe Msoft should, instead of making consoles, maybe make pre-built PCs for gaming with 3 tiers pricing for 1080p, 1440p, 4K?
I mean, that would make sense. But Microsoft does not have a great track record when it comes to selling hardware. Like, if you're not familiar with their Surface line, when I worked at Best Buy, we had to sell these things. Here. There we go. They're good laptops. They're good devices. but the quality control, at least back when I was selling them and stuff, was super inconsistent. Like some of them were amazing and people swore by them and loved them. They were great. Other times they were just total disasters and they would just break and they were just bad. They were just bad. So they have made decent hardware before, but it's really, I mean, they got to take it up a notch. So I'm not frankly sure if it's up their alley. What I do think they are going to do, and what the rumors seem to suggest, is that the next Xbox will basically be a PC, at least in terms of like architecture and software, and that's what's going to allow them to put like Steam OS on it, or have, you know, just Steam as a platform on it. So I do think they're going to lean more that direction, whether that just means OS changes or if it means actual like hardware changes and the ability to swap things in and out, who knows. But I don't think it's going to be as simple as like, you know, you look at, I don't know, Starforge PC or something. I don't think it's going to be like this where like, oh, I select this PC. Where's it? Yeah. I don't think it's going to be like this where you see Core, Pro, and Elite. I don't think they're going to do something like that where it's just like a box with an Xbox logo and you pick which one you get. I think it's probably going to be more like a traditional Xbox, but internally it will be much more of a PC than a console. If that makes sense. But thank you, Jimbo, for the 10. Very generous. Corbin, thank you for the 5. Remedy Entertainment, Alan Wake and Control has a game releasing on June 17th. FBC Firebreak. Surprised they aren't shown. Maybe round 2. Yeah, they Firebreak is one that just has generated like no discourse. It's really bizarre. But like very few people are talking about it.
Okay, stick with me here. Mere hours after first playing FBC Firebreak, I found myself mouth to dough with a delicious cream cake. Unfortunately, because I'm a clumsy bastard who can't be trusted with anything nice, a dollop of that cream landed directly into my blood orange cocktail and melted into it. That's when I found myself transported back into the halls of the Federal Bureau of Control as I fired white hot bursts of liquid into its glowing red enemies that stalk its hallways. It's this sort of twisted leap of logic that a trip to Remedy's headquarters does to a brain. Remedy is a studio with an eclectic library of games. Some are horror, others are sci-fi or neo-noir detective fiction. But what I've always loved about the Alan Wake and Max Payne developer is that it's unafraid to be silly. Firebreak, the studio's latest project and its first foray into both first-person shooting and co-op multiplayer action, is very silly. Over the course of a 2-hour play session, I found time to both obliterate everyone around me with a murderous garden gnome and wage war against a 30-foot high sticky note behemoth. All of this was enough for me to be convinced that if anyone can stand out in the crowded, often very serious online multiplayer space, it's Remedy, and its unique desire to inject the weird into everything it makes.
Now I'm gonna say, I do think this has the potential to pop off, because silly viral content is one way for your game to cut through like the non-stop mediocrity that are live service games in 2025. So I do think that this could pop off if they can actually be silly and wacky. The view counts and stuff are concerning because there's not a lot of interest right now. You know, this was posted 2 weeks ago on a 19 million sub channel and they were able to get 64,000. It's not great. Not great. Doesn't mean it won't be great, but it shows right now there's not a lot of interest, or at least awareness, because some of you guys were saying that you're just not familiar with it. I mean, that could be another piece of it if it's just a matter of exposure. Maybe we do this. One's in the chat if you would say you are familiar with this game. You've heard of it, you know of it, you know the basics of it. 1 in the chat if you know that. 0 if you are not on that level. 0 if you're like, I've heard of it, but I don't know anything about it. Or I haven't heard of it. Let's see. Okay, let me, decent spread. Okay, the zeros are coming out now. It took you guys a moment to loosen up. What game? So that's a 0, Melissa. FBC Firebreak, yeah. Okay. Okay. Interesting. You guys are typing so much it froze chat. It froze the chat. Oh God. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. Yeah, so 0.5, I heard Jake Baldino talk about it. Okay. Yeah, I see a lot of zeros, ones. Never heard of it. Play shooters daily. Oh, well, there you go. Juan. You know I can't play all these games, Luke. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm seeing a lot more zeros than they would probably hope to see. But that could change, you know, with just a couple of viral clips. Like, for example, one of the games I played with my friends like a month or two ago was a game called Zorp. What was it? I think it was Zort. Yeah. And what a time to see it. It's wacky and crazy, but the reason we decided to play with our friends was because there was a moment, a clip that we saw, because basically the AI characters in this, the bad guys, can eliminate you, but then they capture through voice chat what you've been saying, and then they can make that play back. So as you're playing, like we didn't realize it, but my buddy Michael got killed in the game, and the game had taken a bit of his voice chat where he was like, I'm cool, and then took that, and as we're exploring the level, like we hear Michael say, I'm cool, but it was only after a few minutes that we realized he was saying it exactly the same way. We realized, oh, Michael's been dead for like 15 minutes, and then the AI enemy is like mimicking him and his dialogue from the voice chat. It was really cool, but it was one little thing where we saw that happening and we're like, yeah, let's try this game. Let's try it. That one little kind of viral clip that made us decide to try it. And so if this game has anything kind of similar where there's a clip that goes viral or people see like the giant, you know, post-it note monster, that could be enough to cause people to be interested enough to check it out. It's possible. The other piece to the live service puzzle is that the scope and budgets have to be reasonable and the expectations have to be reasonable. If this had been developed with a decent budget and scope and scale, they can find success with it, even if it's not, you know, seeing 100,000 concurrent players. It's just about scope and scale and managing expectations and not spending too much on something that was never going to find that level of popularity. As for what they've done here, I'm not sure, but we're going to find out over the course of this this video.
Set 6 years after the events of Control, Firebreak's setting of the oldest house will be familiar to those who played through Jesse Faden's story. Both the broad strokes and little touches remain, whether it be the severity of its brutalist pillars and walls, or the finished folk music spilling out of its bathroom speakers, making for a comforting, if slightly uneasy return. Firebreak tasks squads with re-entering this X-Files-like government building to deal with localized outbreaks of the Hiss, Control's interdimensional threat that embodies living and non-living entities alike. You and up to 2 teammates are essentially this universe's Ghostbusters, just armed with double-barrel shotguns instead of proton packs. The twist though is that here, crossing the streams is heavily encouraged. Let me explain. Outside of your standard arsenal of pistols and rifles, you can pick from 3 different kits. Essentially Firebreak's classes, each kit aids the team in different ways, both offensively and defensively. The Fix kit, for example, allows you to quickly mend machines such as ammo stations and healing showers. FBC employees top up their HP by getting drenched with water. I did say this was all very silly. The Splash kit, meanwhile, arms you with a hydro cannon that can both restore teammates' health bars and douse enemies in water. And finally, the Jump kit comes with a short-range electrokinetic charge impactor that can shock foes and stop them in their tracks. Each kit has its own individual uses, but when combined, they conjure up devastating results. You can likely already imagine what sending a high-voltage bolt of electricity into a soaking wet mob might achieve. But
yeah, I love that kind of thing. Actual like synergies between classes and stuff. That's cool. I like that.
here's a look anyway. Teamwork and communication are key in Firebreak then, because although the whole game is playable solo, it's clear that the intention is for 3 players to come together, especially when things really start to get hectic. All of FBC's Firebreak's missions, known as jobs, ultimately use the same structure. Get in, achieve your objectives, and then return to the elevator you entered the level in.
Extraction shooter! Okay, not every game is an extraction shooter, to be clear, just because you're loading out of an area. Gotta be fair. It is kind of a meme at this point that every live service game is an extraction shooter, but this is not technically one, as far as I understand it. Maybe they'll explain it a little more clearly, but yeah, sorry. I hear, and then you have to get back out, and I'm like, extraction! The red flag shoots up. I'm like, ah! It's not, again, extraction shooters aren't bad. It's just everybody's making one right now. I don't, it's crazy. It's, yeah, more of a horde shooter. It's Left 4 Dead horde shooter with like character archetypes. It's interesting. It's not an extraction shooter, just to be clear. I just impulsively said that.
My first assignment was simple. My team had to fix 3 faulty heat fans in the building's furnace before swiftly retreating back to the safety of the elevator. But as I said earlier, things get hectic. Up next was Paper Chase, a mission involving the destruction of thousands of scattered sticky notes. And it was an entirely different experience from our breezy fanmate.
Okay, I'm sorry. I do like, it's a good touch to be covered in sticky notes and have them all over the camera. That is funny. I'll give him that.
Job. Only once the target number of notes have been removed from the office floors and walls could we exit the area and claim victory. The evil notes could be destroyed by a simple melee attack, but they were much more efficiently disintegrated with a quick soak and spark, another smart use of Firebreak's elemental kit systems. That kind of multiplayer synergy is supported by solid gunplay, so there's always something you can do without relying on another player. I quickly honed in on the machine gun as my tool of destruction. I enjoyed mowing down glowing red ghouls, which satisfyingly burst into the oily haze synonymous with control.
Look at them hordes!
The third
I'm sorry, that gun reminds me of the shotgun I used a ton in the Arcane game, where it was like weirdly incestuous at the end. Do you know what I'm talking about? The one that got like 10 out of 10 scores, but everybody else agreed was like a 7. Do you know what game I'm talking about? Deathloop, thank you. Zetsubo, thank you. Yeah. Huh? Oh, you didn't play it. Yeah, the end of that game is weird. It's like, it's not a good plot twist. It's just like, ew. It's not great. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, this like drummed, the top drum rifle, it reminds me of a shotgun I used in that game that was super busted at launch. Super busted.
The third mission took place in the oldest house's Black Rock Quarry.
Spoiler, it's been years. When was it? That was like 2019, I think. It was a generation ago. I feel like it's fair.
And required the most teamwork of the bunch. Shooting squelchy leeches from the cavernous walls grants you lethal radioactive pearls that need to be contained.
2020? No way. 22? Hold on. There's no way. Hold on. Deathloop. 2021. I'll be damned, dude. September 14th, 2021. There you go. Yeah, see, look, it's like IGN gave it a 10. Steam, it's like sitting at a 7. Reviews on Steam, 3.5 stars. I don't know. I genuinely don't get why people think it's a masterpiece. Like, it was fun. I had a decent time with it, but a masterpiece? Not really. Anyway.
Contained in a shuttle. Safely locked up, these can then be moved along a track to deeper areas of the quarry. It was the most challenging mission of the set and really did stress the need for good communication. The need to take regular shower breaks to rinse off the radiation, droves of enemies, and insta-kill astral spike entities all hindered our progress. I did still manage to have fun though, even if it got incredibly hectic at times.
Now that's a horde shooter.
These missions may sound relatively straightforward, but after completing them you unlock clearance levels for each.
That's funny to pad out the fire.
Which add further objectives and result in much lengthier excursions. The maps open up on subsequent revisits, adding extra chambers of activity as well as more complex objectives and foes. Just like in Control, bosses gate your progress through certain areas, effectively causing a lockdown. These range from bullet sponges with drastically larger health bars to more interesting beasts like a giant sticky note monstrosity that slam my team with its giant yellow fists. I found the latter far more exciting, as taking it down required the elements of communication and teamwork that I enjoy in co-op shooters. These monsters made out of everyday objects are some of my favourite elements of Control, so I'm glad to see some of that weirdness make its way over here. This is further explored through randomly spawning corrupted items, none of which I sadly saw during my playtime, but they remain a tantalising prospect. A rubber duck that can redirect all enemies your way so others can focus on objectives did spawn, but due to its small size none of us found it. An unfortunate instance of readability that the development team assured us they're looking into fixing before launch. Another one of these items detailed to me was a large set of traffic lights, where being caught in its red gaze can result in a heavy amount of damage coming your way. It effectively brings a dash of Squid Game colour to the otherwise grey brutalist surroundings. It's these unreal remedy flourishes that give Firebreak a chance to stand out from the crowd. They're further explored in your loadouts too. Completing missions grants you unlock tokens that can be used to acquire suitably zany new tools. These include ultimate abilities such as the Splash Kit's teapot that burns up any enemy unfortunate enough to collide with its superheated globules. Then there's the Jump Kit's erratic garden gnome, which conjures up a destructive electrical storm that strikes anyone in its zone. That ability in particular ensured chaos often reigned during my time with Firebreak. Most of the time it's good fun, with swarms of enemies destroyed through chaotic scrambling and juggling of abilities. Sometimes though there's just too much going on screen and it all becomes a bit indecipherable. There are strong foundations here, but my small number of concerns all boil down to readability. Sometimes it's unclear where you should be heading on the maps, other times it's working out how to avoid hosing your allies down with friendly fire damage, or picking out exactly who the boss is amidst a horde. There's simply a lot going on here.
It's also, I mean, it just comes with the art style and Control's love for like particle effects. Like, it can become quite difficult to decipher what's going on when you have 20, 30 enemies on screen and they each emit their own particle effects, and you're firing and your teammates are firing their own little like environmental status effects and things like water or electricity. It can just get totally insane, so I can understand that. It's kind of tough because this preview is 2 weeks old, and so they probably played it a week before that. So being pretty close out to launch and still having problems with readability, it's not great. It's not great.
And with bursts of colour popping off everywhere, it can be a little overwhelming when trying to play tactically and precisely. This is a concern I'm assured that the Firebreak devs are well aware of though, and they plan to make active improvements to the shooter's overall readability before its June 17th launch.
My birthday! That's my birthday! Wow.
Firebreak will feature 5 jobs at release, with 2 more promised before the end of 2025. That may not seem like very many, but game director Mike Kayata tells me that Remedy considers them more like game modes than missions. I can see that, with each offering replayability and depth due to their multiple clearance levels and evolving objectives. Combined with the fact that it will cost $39.99 or £32.99, as well as being included on both Game Pass and PlayStation Plus at launch, I think there's enough value in here to keep both Control veterans and new fans looking for a fun shooter entertained for many hours. The always online co-op shooter road is a daunting one for any developer to choose to walk right now, but after playing Firebreak, I'm confident that there's a strong foundation here, and when combined with injections of Remedy's unique quirky personality, I think it can carve its own niche in the space, much like that dollop of cream carved its own space in my cocktail. I still drank it all. For more preview...
Huh. Well, there you go. I do think that they can find their own space in the industry. I do think being on Game Pass is a huge benefit, because I'm looking at this, I'm like, I could play with that with my college buddies. I could see jumping into that for a little bit. Jumping into it at like $40 a pop, probably not. Like, that's way less likely. But jumping into it, just being like, hey, download it, it's on Game Pass, that's way more likely. I could totally see doing that. So that could be good. Could be good.
Game Pass, you say? Yeah, see, it's once games go on Game Pass, it removes that barrier and it allows you to just be like, yeah, I'll try it. And that's what so many of these games need. Like, if you just try it, you might end up loving it. It's just getting to that point where you try it. It's getting people there. Let's see. Craig Mason, or I think it's Craig Mazine, on Angry Fans. What is this? Mo shared this with us. Hold on.
Might get angry with you. What would you say to audience members who might get angry?
Oh, I guess I should give some context. This is the guy behind Chernobyl, and he's the guy that's partnering up on the Last of Us TV show with Neil Druckmann. So this is like one of the guy driving a lot of the changes to season 2. Let's see what he says, because this apparently is funny.
Say to audience members who might get angry with you in the coming weeks about things that they're about to learn about characters that they love.
That's okay. I think they might think they're angry with me. That's fine.
But it's Neil. Be angry at Neil.
I think they might just be angry, which is also okay. I mean, this show is designed to provoke some pretty intense feelings. And wherever those feelings go is fine. I think the most important thing is that they feel something. The worst thing would be if they went, meh. Then I would have really failed. But if they get angry, sad, confused, also give yourself time to see how you feel about it a week later, 2 weeks later. And I will say, give the show time. You may think it's going this way, and it ends up going that way.
I agree that apathy is way worse for a show than anger or love or whatever. Like, apathy is the worst thing, because the moment, it's even true of like video games too, where it's like if you are opposed to something, you're like, I just want to see the dumpster fire. That can still work. You know, it's once people give up and are not interested that your game is actually dead. And in the case of like The Last of Us Part 2 or Last of Us Season 2, I think the problem has been that a lot of people became upset or angry over some of the changes and stuff, and then that turned them into people who were apathetic. You know, that turned them off. And obviously, like, this interview was done back April 21st, so it was done, I think, primarily before the revelation of like Joel's death and stuff like that. And so the question is being asked mainly about how will audiences react? Are you worried they're going to get mad at you when they find out Joel dies or whatever? And that's mainly what he's talking about. But I think it also applies to the show more generally. You know, I think that's more generally what he's referring to. But it's I think a problem for the show going into season 3, and it's like I said previously in the stream, separating out Abby's story into a separate season, I think, is a colossal mistake. I think it's going to cause so many people to just become meh and be like, I didn't really like season 2. And now you're going to have an entire season about the person that killed the character I liked. So I'm just going to skip it. And with how long these seasons are taking to make, 1.5 years, 2 years, like, it's not what you'd hope to see. So we'll see. Do you recommend Metaphor or Persona for someone who loved Claire Obscure but comes from action games? Metaphor is very good. Persona is very stylish. Probably more stylish than Claire Obscure. Claire Obscure is just a very unique game. Like, it's very cinematic. It's very much a blockbuster in kind of how it presents itself. Like, Metaphor Refantasio is a marathon. It is a very slow and steady wins the race kind of game that'll take you 80 hours, and it's just very methodical. Like, it takes you a long time to get through the motions of what they're doing. But if you can do that, it's fantastic. But if you're hoping for like the really cool moments where the music swells and then a really cinematic boss fight kickstarts seamlessly into it, it's not really what Metaphor is. Persona 5, I think, is more like that. And I mean, the directors of Expedition 33 have mentioned that Persona 5 was a major inspiration for them. So that's also a great one to do. But both of those games are very much like, they're massive games that are 80 to 100 hours long. And they are also like life simulators. So you're also going to like the movie theater. You're going and hanging out with friends. You're going to go on a date. You're going to work in the coffee shop. Like, you're doing a lot of other things. So it's just a very differently paced game. Like Expedition 33, it's kind of a lot of action. Persona 5 and Metaphor, there's a lot of downtime. And they're designed to have downtime, and that's part of the like goal. That's part of what they're trying to do. But it's going to play very differently. So I recommend them both. They're both fantastic. But if you're coming and hoping to get more Expedition 33, maybe don't start with that expectation, because there isn't really another game like Expedition 33. It's very unique. So yeah. Well, let me show you guys this. Oh wait, what's this? IGN breaking news. Hold on. Oh. Thank you for this. Thank you for letting me know. Zedit. Thank you. New segment. Also, thank you, Anti-Parzival, for the 5 about that 3-tier pricing option for the console. They might do that. Okay. New segment. Breaking news just now. Zedit in YouTube chat just shouted this out, and I'm glad that they did, because I did not see this. EA is canceling the Black Panther game, and they are closing Cliffhanger Games completely. Ooh. This is crazy. In an email sent to staff from EA Entertainment President Laura Miele said that these changes, alongside other recent cancellations and layoffs, are being done to sharpen our focus and put our creative energy behind the most significant growth opportunities. Star Wars. That's basically what that is. In addition to closing Cliffhanger Games and canceling Black Panther, EA is also laying off some individuals on both mobile and central teams. When asked about the exact number of employees and individuals impacted, they declined to comment. IGN understands that the total number of affected individuals in this wave is less than the roughly 300 cut last month across Respawn and EA's fan care teams, but cannot confirm by how much. Okay. EA is endeavoring to place affected individuals in other roles across the company, which may or may not happen. To that end, I don't know. The email continues. The company is focusing on a small handful of franchises going forward. Battlefield, The Sims, Skate, and Apex. And I mean, they're doing Star Wars stuff. Miele also reassures EA will continue to invest in its Iron Man game at Motive and third Star Wars Jedi game, as well as maintain its mobile business despite cuts, while BioWare works on the next Mass Effect game as well. Additionally, last year, CEO Andrew Wilson announced the company would be moving away from development of future licensed IP that we do not believe will be successful in our changing industry. This is the other thing, is that some of the, I think it was the Insomniac leaks about Wolverine suggested that they have to pay about 30% of each copy to the licensee. So if they do a Black Panther game, they have to spend, like they sell, just to make the math easy, a $60 game, $20 of that immediately off the top has to go to Marvel. Woof. Starts to make sense, because then you're like, oh, you're charging full price. Well, they're basically getting 66% of whatever the full price is. So they're actually effectively charging a budgetary price in terms of what money they're taking in, which is why you start to see them get so greedy with some of these games on microtransactions, on other stuff. Same thing with like the old monetization models on Battlefront 2, where just to make ends meet, with how expensive Battlefront 2 was to develop, they had to try to get really, really clever with how they monetized it and end up ruining the game in the process. The email doesn't mention EA Sports, but this is due to Miele running EA Entertainment, while EA Sports is a separate division. Okay. Notably, EA and Marvel's agreement for Black Panther was part of a 3-game deal that included Iron Man and a third unannounced title. Little has been shown of the Black Panther game so far since its announcement in 2023. We do know from a job listing that it was supposed to be a single-player action-adventure open-world game. Black Panther was being developed by the newly formed, now closed, Cliffhanger Games, which was formed in 2023 with some former devs of Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor, and was headed up by Kevin Stevens. No relation to yours truly. But you remember when they canceled and shut down Monolith? It was kind of like insane. What's happening? But they shut it down because a lot of the talent that made that game or that company so successful had left to go form Cliffhanger Games. And Cliffhanger Games is now shut down. And they're moving away. That's wild. Imagine leaving your beloved and highly lauded studio to found a new studio. And then you leave to found a different studio, and that gets shut down as well. It's just crazy. I mean, what were they seeing with the Black Panther game that made them think it wasn't going to work out? Like, maybe these companies, they always do internal reviews. Maybe what they were doing is they did like an internal review, because notably we just heard that happened with Fair Games, where they did like a play test and the reactions were received, and then Jade Raymond all of a sudden is leaving the company very suddenly, and it kind of sounds like maybe she was fired or welcomed to retire or whatever after the feedback was so bad. So maybe they did something similar with the Black Panther game, where they held previews or they did like mock reviews or something, and the feedback was just not very good. And so they're like, we could spend another 2 years working on it to try and make it better. But even then, like, it's a licensed game. That's the thing with these licensed games, is when they have to pay a royalty to a Marvel or a Disney or whoever, if it was going to take 3 million units to be profitable before, having a license deal means that now you have to sell 5 million, which is way harder. Or if you needed 5, now you have to do 8. Or if you needed 8, now you have to do 12. You know, it gets significantly harder to be profitable once you have those like royalty deals and those licensing deals, and they just don't make sense at some point. And that's the thing when you look at it from a business perspective, is even if the Black Panther game looked good, which maybe it didn't. I mean, we don't know. Maybe it looked terrible. Who knows? But even if it looked pretty good, if they're looking at it and they're like, we think this will sell 5 million copies in a year, but because of the licensing deal, that means we will not be profitable because we need 8 million to break even. Okay, so we're just going to lose money. Let's just cancel it, move on. It's cutthroat. It's a rough decision to make. But if you know we cancel it now, we lose 100 million, 150 million. Or we keep developing it, release it, even then we almost certainly will not make money and we'll lose 180 million or 200 million. Then it starts to make sense why it doesn't, like, these decisions get made where it just, the math didn't math. It probably should never have been greenlit if the standards were that high, in my opinion, but there you go. Yeah, it's just, it's absolutely crazy. Again, like, a lot of the talent and former devs from Shadow Mordor, Shadow of War, and all those games, a lot of those guys went to form this studio. And then, I mean, it's just gone nowhere. They've worked on it for 2 years and now they're canceling it. Absolutely wild, but that's just where we are. What a waste of time and money, dude. What a waste. But now it's gone. We're never going to see it. We'll see where Kevin Stevens and those guys end up landing. Who knows? I'm sure there's a lot of devs that would be happy to see it. Shortster says, always sad to see layoffs, but I would not be surprised if they're going to do a lot of reorganizing to make room for a team to come in and speedrun Star Wars Battlefront 3 since the resurgence. We're going to talk about this more in a minute. I'm going to do a dedicated segment on the Battlefront 2 stuff, because I think a lot of people, and I'm saying this as somebody who would like to see another Battlefront, I think if you think that they're doing this to reform and make room for that, you're kind of kidding yourself. Like, yeah, I think Papa is on to where I'm going with this. If you think Battlefront 3 would be anything like current Battlefront 2 in setup and everything, it would not. Okay, but we'll talk about that next. But all that being said, yeah, breaking news: EA is canceling the Black Panther game, and they are shutting down Cliffhanger Games only a couple of years after it was founded. And now, who knows what the future holds? But I mean, EA is just refocusing, and they're trying to put their eggs in the baskets that they think are actually going to make it home. And in this case, it was not Cliffhanger Games. I think they didn't think it was going to perform where it needed to be to go and pop off and make good money. There you go. Pretty aight. 24 months. Ooh, baby. 2 years. That's absolutely ridiculous. Can't believe it's been 2 years. Thanks for all the laughs and content. Luke, thoughts on the Pottercast update? It feels too soon for a remake. First of all, thank you for 2 years of support. That's unbelievable. I can't believe it's been 2 years either. Secondly, as for the Harry Potter stuff, I think one of the funniest things I saw, they were joking about how like so many roles nowadays are like they swap like hair colors or the race or whatever of the actor or actresses. Oh yeah, here it is. And so one of the new trends is that people will comment on these casting posts and just be like, which one is X character? And in this case, they posted this and it was, which one is Ron? And I don't know why I find that funny, but I find it kind of funny. But honestly, it looks fine. It looks good. Like none of this I like you can judge until you see the actual show. My point or my perspective at the outset is that I don't think we needed a show version of it. I don't think we needed anything like this. Like, I think we were doing just fine with the old movies and everything. I don't think we need an HBO show, but you know, I'll see it when they release it. We'll see how it turns out and how much stuff they screw up. Who knows? I think most of this though is just because HBO right now is seen as sort of the adult network. It's seen as like the place you go to watch The Last of Us. You watch reruns of Game of Thrones, and if you want to see some boobs or something, like it's mostly an adult focused platform, and they want some of that Disney Plus money. So they're going to try to create a show that appeals to families. And they're hoping by launching this, they can do that. I think that that's the idea, at least. I don't think it's necessary, but we'll see. Boobas, you say. Yeah. Rowling has more money than God wants more. That's why. I could be mistaken, but doesn't she donate every dollar over 999 million? I'm pretty sure she donates all of her money so she never becomes a billionaire. But that might not be true. I know she donates a lot of money, and it's actually pissed off a lot of people because of who she donates it to. But I'm pretty sure she donates all of her money so she doesn't become a billionaire. She does? Yeah. Yeah, because I remember it was also a topic of conversation, like the different groups she was donating to. People found out where she was sending the money, and that was a scandal in and of itself. Either way, like I don't think she's doing it for the money. I think she's just doing her thing. Like, who knows if this was even something she called for. I mean, I think she supervised casting and all that. But I mean, this is mainly, I think, the guys that they can do a show. They're hoping that this helps kind of reinvigorate the franchise, and we'll see. We'll see. I don't know if you can capture that lightning in a bottle again, because everybody who watched those old movies, who read the books and stuff, grew up with that content. they're going to be looking at this with a fine tooth, or going through this with a fine tooth comb and with a magnifying glass, trying to spot stuff. It's going to be real tough for them to pull this off. We'll see. But I've seen some like really pathetic people going after the kids now. And it's like, what a miserable person you have to be to like go after kids who are cast in a TV show you didn't want to watch. Like, what an absolute loser you have to be to just be like so miserable. It's just so stupid. Yeah, I hope they got the kids plenty of like insulation from social media and all that, because it's just going to be stupid and toxic no matter what. But we'll see. Do we have any other news with that Black Panther thing? No. It's just echoes of the same article. Metal, thank you for the 10. Oh, it's gonna read it.
Metal_Mohone donated $9.99 through Super Chat.
Thank you.
Tuning into your show while prestige grinding Space Marines 2 has become my favorite way to spend an afternoon.
Well, hell yeah.
Todd be praised.
Yes.
Back to slaying the Xenos. THNX for the content.
Thank you for watching, and yes, slay those damn Xenos. Send them back to oblivion. Thank you for being here, my friend. Glad to have you. And thank you for the generous 10. That's very generous. Let's see. Oh, I guess now I should mention this because I said I was going to. Okay. New mini segment. Yeah, for the Emperor. I play Chaos Demons and Thousand Suns and stuff, so I'm Chaos all the way, so I feel weird saying for the Emperor. Personally. New segment. So this is one of the things that's been going viral recently is, well, okay, pause, time out, walk it back, hold up, wait a minute. Let's do it this way. Battlefront 2 has been popping off. Everybody is probably aware of it at this point. It's been going viral. People have been playing it and eating it up because it is quite good. And that is, in fact, true. The version of the game that they're playing today is pretty robust, I think is the technical term. Very cinematic, very crazy. This here is a clip from Jack Frags that we'll look at here in a minute, with some gameplay footage as well. And, you know, it's I think reasonable to think, because the game is popping off right now, that maybe EA is going to sit up and notice it and be like, oh, maybe they're going to do a remake or a remaster or something because people are loving it so much. And here's the deal. Like, I'm meeting up Battlefront 2. I've been playing a good amount of it the last week or so because it's going viral. Matchmaking times are low and people are eating it up. But I think it's important to just keep a broader perspective. You know, keep a broader perspective, because there's something very important to understand about Battlefront 2. And it is that this game was an absolute, unequivocal disaster when it launched. It was so bad that regulators for like gambling and stuff in Belgium started investigating EA for unlawful practices, for trying to get kids to gamble with the loot boxes and systems that were pay to win within Battlefront 2 during the beta. And then even at launch, there were some problems right before they stripped out all of the microtransactions and everything in reaction to it. Disney freaked out at them. Disney was being asked during their earnings calls and stuff about it because it was such a scandal. It was a whole thing. And people kind of forget that, and they're looking at the game now. But the Battlefront 2 that you can download and play through Game Pass right now or on Steam or whatever, that version of Battlefront 2 is not what the product was. Like, it's not what they built. It's not what they designed to be profitable as a product. What they designed was a pay-to-win monstrosity that went internationally viral, both in mainstream media and in online content, for how egregious it was. And people who are now saying, oh, well, Battlefront 2 is really good because all of that stuff's been stripped out. Now we should get Battlefront 3. The thing is, the version of Battlefront 3 you would get would be almost, it would not be the Battlefront 2 you have now. It would not be an evolution of that. In order to do this deal, they would need to do another licensing deal with Disney. Reportedly, they take anywhere from 20 to 30% cuts on the things they license. So if you wanted to do Battlefront 3, they would take 30% of every copy of every microtransaction of everything. 30%. They sell a super cool $100 deluxe version of the game. $30 of it immediately goes to the big mouse. Like, it starts to make sense why they would start to need to find other ways of monetizing and getting extra cash in. Because if this game before needed maybe 200 million to break even, if they're having to pay 30% taxes to the big mouse, all of a sudden they have to find an extra 50, 60, 70 million dollars to break even. And it gets way harder to do that when you add that to every single thing that you're doing with the game. So it'd be very, very difficult, and they'd have to find some way to do it. And it might be that the economies of the game just don't really make sense if you're dealing with just traditional monetization, like, cosmetics or battle passes and stuff. It might not work, which is why they were so aggressive in 2017 with it. Who knows? But I think that this is the sort of dangerous assumption, is that if we were to get Battlefront 3, that it would just be like a better version of the Battlefront 2 you can play right now. The Battlefront 2 you can play right now is the game in its purest form, 8 years after launch, when everything has been stripped out of it. All the crazy monetization stuff has been stripped out. All of the characters are given to you without grinding. They did that because the game was already dead, and because they the damage was done. They needed to win people over somehow. So they stripped all that stuff out. It wasn't making money anyways. But the next game almost certainly would have a lot of that back. Probably would not have loot boxes again. That would be a mistake. But it almost certainly would have an ocean of microtransactions, of 15 different battle passes. I mean, because that's just what they would do. Let's be completely real. Let's be real. Yeah, EA gave DICE pretty much free access to do what they wanted to fix the image of the game, and they did a pretty good job. Exactly, that's what they did after the damage was done, and I do think they did a good job, and I think the game's virality right now is demonstrating that they did a good job. But I don't think that EA would all of a sudden be feeling super generous with a Battlefront 3, especially because making a Battlefront 3 would be freakishly expensive nowadays. So it's just not that easy. The other piece of it too is people are of course playing the game a lot right now because Andor just launched, because of the relaunch of, I think, Revenge of the Sith went back into theaters. There's been a number of things that have kind of helped Star Wars. There's the Fortnite crossover event with AI Darth Vader, so a lot of kids are getting back into it. There's been a lot of things that have kind of pushed Battlefront 2 back into the spotlight, and that's happening right now. But Battlefront 3, there's no reason to believe they've been working on it. So if they were to start working on it, it would be like in the next few months. And these types of games can take 4 to 5 years to make. So you wouldn't be getting it until the PlayStation 6 anyways. And like, it's not as simple as that. But Jack Frags put together a video. They might actually make Battlefront 3 now. And it's only 10 minutes long, and I want to hear what his argument is for why they might actually do it. So let's see.
Battlefront 3 might actually get made, and I'm not even kidding. So this is a comment from an ex-developer who worked on the DICE Star Wars Battlefront from 2015 and also Battlefront 2 2017 at Electronic Arts. This is a guy called Matt Helga Home, and I've checked him out on Moby Games, so it is real. Moby Games is a catalog of game developers, and he's worked on all sorts of titles here. So he posted this.
Wait. Are you telling me this guy worked on Sims 4 fitness stuff and toddler stuff and bowling night stuff and kids room stuff? I didn't know we had a player in our midst, dude. I forgot how many stupid little DLC packs they did for The Sims 4. Dude, they did so many. I mean, he obviously worked on some major projects and stuff with Battlefield and Star Wars stuff. But yeah, they used devs for all sorts of little things. I just forgot how many of these stupid little DLCs they did. A toddler stuff pack? It's probably $10 by itself. Like, Jesus.
Here. So he posted this on Reddit in a reply to Josh Klein 15, who said, what Battlefront 2 devs said they'd come back. He said, me and having heard around my group of ex-colleagues, we want to get the gang back together.
Oh, working on a Star Wars game, I'm sure is a dream come true. I don't put much weight into this though, because many devs, like the devs were not the problem with Battlefront 2. The devs are never the problem with these games, except in very rare instances, I guess I should say. So it's not never, but a lot of the time, the devs are not the problem. They're very talented. It's executive decisions, mismanagement, stuff like that. So just because he's like, yeah, we'd like to do a Battlefront 3, I'm sure you would. I mean, everybody would love to work on a Battlefront 3. You know, that makes sense. This doesn't indicate that it's likely to happen, though.
We want to get the gang back together? Okay. So this might actually be the original Battlefront and Battlefront 2 team that were at DICE. And then another person here asked him, Pastor4788, how likely is Battlefront 3 to happen? He said, I don't expect Battlefront 3 to be announced at the end of this rally, but overall, yeah, I think there are people who are talking about it.
I think they're talking about it. I do think that that's fair. Because whenever you have a game that reaches peak player counts 8 years after launch, you should pause and go, why is that happening? There's clearly interest here. And there is. I mean, there's been reporting from insiders at EA that have shared player count numbers, and they're saying that they're reaching peak concurrent player counts as high as 300,000 players across all the platforms. When you count PlayStation, Xbox, Steam, Game Pass, everything. Like if you just look at Steam, you might see like 20,000 concurrent players. The vast majority of players are on like console and Game Pass and stuff like that. And so if they're seeing 300,000 concurrent players all of a sudden in a game that's almost a decade old, that should give them pause and be like, So I'm sure they're talking about it. But realistically, the other thing is, okay, we do it. You got to remember, when they made this game, EA had an exclusive Star Wars license with Disney. And people, you know, nowadays we kind of forget about it because Ubisoft did a Star Wars game and there's been some others. But when they made Battlefront, they had an exclusive deal that they could, like, they were the only ones that could make Star Wars games. Except I think the Lego games were the exception as well. Like prior agreements held still, but there were no new contracts for Star Wars games, I think was the deal. But they made 2 games. And then Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order and stuff did well in like 2019, I think it was. But I just think nowadays they'd have to go back to Disney, make a new deal, sign a new licensing deal, and that's really expensive. And then they'd have to start working on it, and that would take another, 4 or 5 years. Like they're making a decision not based on the hype today. It would be a decision based on what they think the hype level will be in 4 or 5 years, which is even trickier.
This is really promising.
Oh, and Squadrons. You're right, Bustin' Nut. They did do Squadrons.
If a lot of the developers who worked on this game and the previous games are talking about this, maybe something will actually come of it.
No, man. Like, the devs have literally no power. Like, if an executive producer were talking about it, okay, I'm paying attention. The producers are like often the money people. They're the business people. They have direct contacts within the publisher. Like, they might be able to make something happen. But if like a dev or a programmer is saying, yeah, we'd like to do it, unfortunately, that just doesn't mean much of anything.
Big wigs at EA and other publishers, potentially, we'll get onto that a bit later, might be seeing the hype right now, seeing the views, the coverage, and going, okay, maybe there's a lot of dough to be made here if we can put out a good game. Also, today was the official Star Wars Battlefront 2 Resurgence Day, and the community were trying to beat the concurrent player count on Steam. And as of 6 PM UK time when I'm recording this, they've actually done it. So if we look at the all-time graph here, the peak on Steam was in January 2021 when it had 10,345. Maybe that was some kind of Steam sale or something like that. And the game wasn't even originally on Steam when it came out either.
That's the thing to remember is it's like, it wasn't on Steam originally. It was on like EA Access, I think is what they called it at the time. And in their own launcher or whatever. So we don't know what the day one player counts were. I don't think they ever said. Maybe they did, but I don't think they ever did. But at least on Steam, they achieved a peak, which is good. But like I said, there's been insiders from EA that have said, no, we're hitting like 300,000 on all platforms, which is crazy. Oh, Origin, you're right. It was EA Origin. It was so bad, such a bad launcher, I blocked it out of my brain. I'm just...
You got to remember that a lot of people play this game on other platforms apart from Steam, right? It's on the EA Play app, which I think a lot of people probably play this on, maybe more than Steam. And of course, it's on console too, so the actual player count's bigger than this. But if we look at today, it's currently 13,415, and that is breaking the all-time peak, which is just insane. So impressive. I do expect this to go up a bit more too as we get further through the day and East Coast, West Coast America start pumping up those player numbers. So maybe it'll hit 20k on Steam. That would be incredible. Also, I thought this was really cool. So this is an old post on Twitter from Dennis Brandval, who was the former creative director of Star Wars Battlefront 2 at DICE. I've met Dennis a few times. Really nice guy, very passionate, huge Star Wars fan as well. He was part of the core team that actually continued developing Battlefront 2 when it had a skeleton crew, very small unit, and they actually kept putting content together. I think they delivered the Clone Wars stuff and even more after that. But he tweeted this in 2021. I'd not seen this before. There may or may not have been prototypes of Mustafar. That would have looked amazing on the Frostbite engine. Ventress and Ahsoka for Clone Wars drop following Scarif. So I think Scarif was the final update they did for Battlefront 2 before that was shuttered. And then I think maybe they were told to work on Battlefield stuff, and a lot of the Battlefront 2 devs quit.
Yeah, Battlefront 2 is not making enough money. Get over there and work on on Battlefront 42, 2042. That'll do well. That's way better use of resources. Makes sense. Checks out. Oh, so stupid. But maybe this is the other question. It may not make sense to do just to immediately greenlight and start working on a Battlefront 3 kind of as a knee-jerk reaction to all this. But it may make sense to like revisit the game and do, you know, all these years later, do a big update or DLC drop or something. That could be more doable. That could make sense and potentially be easier to do. Because then people don't have to buy the game again. You just be like, hey, as a thank you for playing, do this. And we have exciting news to share soon, ... Something like that. Wouldn't put it past them. That could be an easy way to get some brownie points and keep interest high.
They left and they made their own studio, and I think they're kind of doing their own thing now, which is cool. But
wouldn't that trigger revenue going to Disney? Yeah, if there's revenue generated. That's the other thing, is we don't know the deal they made, because the deal might have been for like launch day and then 2 years. And then after 2 years, they're not allowed to make content without Disney approval or something. We just don't know. And what I did find out, like I went to Lightstorm Studios for the Avatar preview thing that they did for the Avatar game. And that's James Cameron's studio where they like film Avatar, like the actual soundstage where they filmed a bunch of the Avatar movies, sequences. We actually like had lunch in there in the sound stage where they filmed it. It was cool. But as part of that, the devs were on like this little panel, and they talked next to Lightstorm producers and directors and stuff. And they were framing it as like a really good thing, that, yeah, when we want to put something in the game, we have to call Lightstorm and we have to talk to them about what we want to add. And then they go back, they talk about it, debate it. We send them concept art, then they send us back notes on the concept art, and then we change stuff. We send it back and they approve it. It's like a very collaborative thing. And they're phrasing this as like a really cool collaborative thing. But the whole time I'm sitting there, I'm like, this sounds like such a freaking headache. Like, I can only imagine if you were trying to do anything and you had to get it approved by 15 different people in 3 different departments, and they are working like, with a 8 to 12 hour time difference because you're in Sweden and they're in LA. Like, I can only imagine how much of a headache that must have been.
But for doing more like Star Wars stuff, I think it's probably a similar thing where Disney and Lucasfilm and all those guys, they're very protective of Star Wars, and they're not about to let you just do whatever you want. So any content updates, I'm sure they would have to approve, and they would have to be very, very on it, you know? That's how it is every time you work with a licensor at every studio I've worked. Yeah, dude, of course I've not like worked in a game studio like this, but I've done like videos or like sponsored videos and stuff where you have to send it off for approvals and stuff, and it goes through 15 layers of approvals. And we showed it to our manager, and our manager thought maybe you could change the font on the text that's on screen for 30 seconds or for 5 seconds. Can you change the font to this one? We just think this would look better. Like, it just is such a headache sometimes, but I can only imagine what it's like trying to make a video game, you know? Ugh, like every little thing.
It seems like they were planning even more content. We just didn't get it, sadly. However, now with all this hype for Battlefront 2, everyone's playing it again. The press are talking about it. Content creators are making videos about it. People are really enjoying it. Ex-developers are getting together. They're having chats, having coffees. You never know. It might happen. I don't think it's actively in development unless there's a secret studio somewhere making it, but...
Yeah, I mean, it's not. If it were, I mean, we would know about it. Imagine that scoop. Literally, like, whenever you're talking about something super secret like that happening, you have to remember what is actually being alleged. In order for a secret game like Battlefront 3 to be in the works, like hundreds, if not thousands of people at Disney would know about it. Lucasfilm, Disney executives, marketing people, they would all know about it. Finance people would know about it. And then within EA, marketing people, finance people, accounting people, they would all know about it. And then the developers, like, you're talking about thousands of people that would all know about it and would have to keep their mouth shut, which is unlikely. Just takes one person emailing Tom Henderson for the story to break. You know, it does not take much, or posting anonymously on 4chan. And there's been nothing like that.
Perhaps some of the old guys who worked on the DICE version of Battlefront 1 and 2 could potentially pitch this, because as far as I know, please correct me if I'm wrong, originally, EA signed a 10-year exclusive deal for Star Wars games. That expired a few years back, and since then, I seem to recall that Disney said, anyone can make Star Wars games now. If you've got a good idea, pitch it to them, and if we like it, you can do it.
Yeah, but it's not a generous thing. They're like, pitch it to us, and we'll take 30% and do none of the work. So, yes, it's true. You can pitch it. But there is a point at which this, like, the economies of scale don't really click together. If your game takes $300 million to put together, and like Disney's going to take 50% or 30% of everything you do, you have to move a lot of copies to break even. And I'm sure right now they're running those numbers and seeing what's realistic, what can we actually pull off. And maybe it does make sense and they'll announce something soon, but you just never know.
Might be pulling that information out of thin air, but for some reason that's in my...
Okay, I'll keep eating the donut. Jesus, you guys are like, it's gonna go stale. We're gonna get Battlefront 3 before Luke finishes his donut.
My head, I remember reading about that, seeing it in a video somewhere. I think that's how it actually works now. So that's why you're seeing all sorts of Star Wars games from different studios, publishers, like Star Wars Outlaws, for example, from Ubisoft. EA, obviously, they've got games like Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor, Hunters. That was like that hero shooter. Did that only come out on the Switch maybe, or mobile? I'm not sure. But you know what I mean? Lots of different publishers and developers make Star Wars games now. So someone could legitimately pitch this idea to Disney and it might happen. And I was talking about this a little bit in the last video. By the way,
they have to pitch it, but doesn't EA own the Battlefield or Battlefront license? Or is it Disney that owns it? They can assign it to anybody. I'm not sure. The other question, one of you guys asked who is, if not DICE, who else could do a good job with Battlefront? I think after seeing Helldivers, I think, whatever they're called, Arrowhead, I think, they could do a good job, but I don't think they would do it because they don't want to give up 30% of everything. Like, it just doesn't make sense. So I just think it's got to be DICE. I think you let DICE do it. They showed, like, with Battlefront 2, they can do it if they're allowed to do it. It's just when they're forced to make a pay-to-win game that things go bad. Embark could probably pull it off, but I think they've got their hands full. They'd have to, like, double in size.
Wait, thank you so much for the support on that video. We had 28,000 likes on that video and it's like 700,000 views, which is just ridiculous. Appreciate that. And apparently people really enjoyed watching me come back and play Battlefront 2 again. So I'm definitely going to be doing more. And we did mention, if somebody was to make this game, who would it be? I mean, well, as we can see, clearly it could be the original team if they get the band back. I don't know what they're doing. You know, obviously they're working on other games and other projects. They've moved on maybe, but it could come back now. A lot of people said Embark. Embark's really interesting because Embark made the finals and they're bringing Arc Raiders out. Arc Raiders is the bee's knees. I played the hell out of this game a couple weeks ago when they had a tech test and it absolutely blew my expectations away. I was expecting it to be good. I wasn't expected to be so addicted to it. And actually some of the old Battlefront and Battlefront 2 developers left DICE, like I mentioned, and went to Embark and worked on this game. So
yeah, because they're both in Sweden, right? I think Embark is also in Sweden. I think they're both in Sweden. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think so. Tyler Durden, thank you for the 10. I've always wanted a 40k Battlefront style game. One day. Horus Heresy setting is right there. Yeah, dude, for real. That would actually be really cool. And maybe after the success of Space Marine 2, maybe you do get it. I mean, you never know. I think that showed there was interest in the IP and in like the content that they could do it. It just has to be done right. And so you never know. There might be gears turning in the background. You never know. You never know. I think it could work. Maybe the next Space Marine is going to basically be that. It's possible.
But that's why it kind of feels a bit like Battlefront 2 at times. And they've just absolutely nailed that third-person combat, in my opinion. So maybe Embark could be the studio to have a proper crack at developing Battlefront 3. Get in the room with the right people, pitch the idea. They can clearly deliver quality, even though they're a new studio. They've got so much talent there, experience from across the years. Unreal Engine 5, like Arc Raiders. Imagine how good that could be. A full-on next-gen game, 64 players. Just go bananas with it. So Embark Studios could be an option. I don't even know if they've got the number of employees to make something like that. But
no, I mean, because I think they're at capacity with Arc Raiders right now and the finals. So they would have to like double in size, which they could do. But it's like, you know, that's a whole other thing, because you have to remember that means a lot of onboarding costs. They probably need another office or to get a bigger office. You know, there's just so many cascading things to consider.
But hey,
I think they have the talent to do it.
I also thought maybe Arrowhead Game Studios.
Yeah.
They made Helldivers 2. And Helldivers 2, it does feel a bit Star Warsy and Battlefront-y.
Oh, if you've not seen it, look up the mods. People have modded it so that it actually looks like Star Wars or like the Clone Wars or something. It's kind of insane.
Times, right?
Really
Especially
cool.
with the third-person combat, the simulation, the enemies that you're fighting, the ships coming in, the cinematic quality of it. I love the explosions in Helldivers 2, man. And that game, I don't know if you guys knew this, that game is running on a discontinued version of 3ds Max. I think that's legit. Again, please correct me if I'm wrong, but
it's heavily modded.
That's what they did. They made it on 3ds Max, which is like a 3D program, somehow made it into a game. Pretty insane, really. But Helldivers 2, I think maybe is the best PvE game that's going right now. And I know that Battlefront is a PvP game, but there are a lot of elements of PvE in it, right? Like playing against bots or doing the co-op missions, and maybe Arrowhead would actually be really good at the PvP stuff too. So they could be a potential studio as well. Outside of that, I don't really have many good ideas right now, but let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, who do you think would be a good fit to actually make a Star Wars Battlefront 3? Would you just want the original guys back, or maybe give it to someone new, see how it goes? As long as it can be like this cool sandbox Star Wars experience that is packed full of content, lots of eras, infantry combat, vehicles, heroes, villains, the whole lot. And then it was supported, so new content would be added to it over time. I think many of us would be happy with that, right? It's really interesting, actually, because Star Wars Battlefront 3 was nearly released, and this was a follow-up to the original games, and it was cancelled in 2008. There was a studio called Free Radical, and they took over the development of the game from Pandemic Studios. And it was supposedly nearly finished, but there was like struggles with the development of the game. LucasArts at the time decided to cancel it, and it was seen as a big opportunity, and some of it leaked. I don't know who leaked it, whether it was people hacking and they got footage, or the game devs just wanted to put stuff out there that they'd actually spent years working on so people could see, hey, we nearly released this game. There's videos of it online, and it did look like it was nearly finished. And again, just from memory, I think it had ground to space combat, which would have been phenomenal. But perhaps there's a road to redemption here, and all of this hype, this positivity, maybe it's going to lead to something good. You never know, man. I just like this so much because when DICE's Star Wars Battlefront 2 released in 2017, the game was pretty good, but it had these awful microtransactions with the star cards and the loot boxes, and some of the communication with the game was just very anti-consumer, anti-community, and it got dogged on. To their credit, DICE worked their asses off, to put it frankly, turned the game around, got rid of all that crap, developed new content that was really good, and just made a kick-ass game.
To their credit, I think they did. I mean, EA could have been really rough with it and just been like, nope, we're canceling it. I don't care. Sucks to suck. You guys aren't fixing it. We're just going to leave it like it is, and that's it. Yeah, they could have done that, but they didn't. And instead, thankfully, they empowered them to keep working on it and to just make it better and better and better. And so now the version of the game you see is fantastic, in my opinion. It's very, very good. This is more Jack Fragg's gameplay, as you can see. But I mean, again, I think it's important to maintain the perspective and remember where we are in Battlefront 2's life cycle versus where a Battlefront 3 would be. Battlefront 3 would not have all the microtransactions stripped out because it would be at the beginning of its life cycle. So if you're hoping for like a totally pro consumer, you just buy it and then you have the whole game and tons of free content. That's not what Battlefront 3 would be. It could still be good, but I think we would just need to be aware of that. Now, if they needed to do it with like battle passes, if they needed to do it with cosmetics and stuff, I think we all understand that. That's fine. I don't honestly know if they could possibly get more anti-consumer than they were with Battlefront 2 at launch, or during the beta rather, because during the beta, it was not just grind for everything from, Darth Vader to General Grievous or whoever. It was also like any sort of progression was tied to star cards, which was tied to either grinding or spending real money. And it was just super toxic. It was very, very bad. So I don't think they could be worse than that, but that's not really a very high bar. I think, I'd love to see it. I think the best company to do it would be DICE. Right now, obviously, they have their hands full. EA is kind of putting all the eggs in the Battlefield basket, but who knows? Maybe if Battlefield clicks and does well, and they're like, hey, we can basically make Battlefront 2. We just swap assets out. Maybe that's even easier and they could do that. I think it could make sense. But the popularity right now with Battlefront is I think a nice thing to see, and I'm glad to see it. And I hope that maybe it goes somewhere. And I think really at the end of the day, it just reminds, or should remind everybody, that players are into these types of games. You just have to make them solid, not pay to win, and not crush them with anti-consumer practices trying to milk players for all they're worth. If you just don't do those things, your game, if it's good, will stand on its own. But it I think is, or should be, a reminder that bad monetization and greed can ruin an otherwise really good game. And it's just tragic to see, because Battlefront 2, if it had not been screwed up so royally at launch by all that, the greedy pay to win stuff, I don't think this discourse would even be happening the same way it is now. I think they would have gotten another couple of years of post-launch support. I think they would have seen a sequel greenlit. I think they would still be working on it to this day. But it's just, once you ring that bell, you can't unring it. Once people feel like the game is a scummy, slimy package, they're going to check out. And as you see now, people are going back to it and being like, oh, the game's actually really good. I don't know why I never got into it. But it's because at the time it was a disaster. So it's good to see it doing well. I hope somebody pitches something and it makes business sense without having to be pay to win. And maybe, we'll find out something. What a DICE dev that we looked at on stream said was, he thought the best way of doing this would be to work on a remaster or remake, probably a remaster, for Battlefront 2 that takes about 2.5, 3 years to put together. And he's like, we just fix up the game, we fix some of the progression stuff, we upgrade it for next gen consoles, launch it in 2027, 2028 on next gen consoles. And then if that does well, we start work on Battlefront 2. And I think that's actually a pretty good idea. I think if you do it that way, that could go well. Maybe even a cross-generational thing, but you optimize Battlefront 2, relaunch it on PS5, Xbox Series consoles, and whatever is next. There's a way to do that. That could work well. Cam 41. Have Cloud Imperium do it. God knows they're not finishing Star Citizen. Oh, golly. Yeah, oh, man. Dude, I'm sorry. I love the idea of an Ewok flinging rocks at the Emperor. That's just funny to me. It's just such a stupid thing to see. Just like, hey, you, screw you, man. Oh, anyway. We'll see what happens. Dennis is already talking to a film director about Battlefront 3. I don't know what any of that means. Who is Dennis? And why would they talk to a film director about a video game? That whole message confused the crap out of me. I'm sorry. He was that dev that Jack was talking about. Oh, okay. Well, why does he need to talk to a film director? A movie game? What do you, okay. You know, he's making a movie game. Oh, okay. Oh, man. Oh, Battlefront. Oh, Battlefront. And I would not have guessed that, like, the next... If you rewind the clocks 2 years and you say, Luke, in late May of 2025, you'll have the option between playing Star Wars Battlefront 2 again, or you can play the new FromSoftware game. Which are you more excited to play? I would never, ever have expected I would be saying Battlefront. You know, I would never, ever have thought that. But that's where we are. That's where we are, man. Yeah, Mr. Kilter. Yeah, we talked about it. It's really unfortunate because a lot of those guys are former Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War devs. Really talented guys. It's really too bad. Judson, thank you for that. I'm surprised Respawn hasn't made a 6v6 Star Wars multiplayer game since they are the OG Infinity Ward, if the team's still there. Didn't they work on, like, I think they pitched something. There was another game that got canceled. I'm not sure. I think they were working on something else a little more niche and it got canceled and shut down. Why did they close it? I think they just looked at it and realized that it was not going to make any money, and so they just gave up. Luke, it's Dennis's mom. He wants you to know that you don't have to worry. A movie game is coming out for Battlefront 3 soon. Oh, good. Good. Thank you, Dennis's mom. I'm glad you're doing well. Lou, thank you for the sub over on Twitch, by the way. Thank you, my friend. Oh, we did a workout yesterday, and I am sore, man. I am sore. Okay. Well, fam, I think are going to call it there. I've got to go launch this video on Mind's Eye. So we're going to do that. You guys are fantastic. Oh, you're right. It was a Mandalorian game. That's right. That's what it was. I was like, they were working on something else that got canceled. That's it. So I'm going to call it there. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back on Friday with the podcast with Jor, Rockin' and Rollin'. So just you wait for that. It's going to be wonderful. Until next time, my friends. Yeah, and we'll have Dennis on as a guest. Yeah, we'll get Dennis. Thank you for watching, everybody. Much love. I'll see you soon. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye. Go join the Discord if you haven't already.